This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Hello, Kelly Nelson here, joined by the ever-lovable Johnny Sorrow. How are you doing, Johnny?
Great.
Yes, two of the titans of wrestling here, and what are we doing? Well, we are trying something different. We are going away from our comfort zone of professional wrestling. And yes, we do have other interests, if you didn't know that. And of course, one interest that goes hand in hand with professional wrestling is superhero comic books, or comic books in general. And the two of us are old-time comic book nerds. So yes, this show is going to be about comics. Yes. And the title we have chosen, actually, Johnny came up with this one after spitballing a few other titles and checking out if we could use them or not. We're going with Imaginary Stories, which basically I think captures the spirit of what this show will be about. Mm-hmm. Mostly classic comics, probably exclusively classic comics, much like our wrestling chats are about the good old days. And we're starting today with comic books, but in the future we'll be looking at also comic strips as well, and who knows, other things as well. So today, to start things off, it's going to be, a show that'll look at, I think, some of the more overlooked or not as talked about areas of wrestling.
Yeah,
I'm so used to saying wrestling history. I got to get used to this, of comic book history. Much like how we're looking at Bob Backlund era WWF, that a good chunk of wrestling fans don't give a shit about. But we're looking at, instead of talking about Spider-Man perhaps or the X-Men, we'll be looking at some different things. And for our debut show, we've chosen to look at the New Teen Titans comic.
Yes. Now, I just want to add, I did have an idea for the name of the show that I still think is brilliant. But I think it's a little too meta. But since, when we talk, we say exactly what we mean. I thought I came up with the Bottle City of Candor. And I'm hearing people boo already through my earbuds. Boo, that stinks. I was so proud of that. I'm like, it's a hell of a pun.
Yeah, it is a hell of a pun.
I'm like, but then I look back and I'm like, oh, shitty title, but great pun.
I laughed when he suggested that, but then I left it at that. I was, maybe more for like a blog, I think, or something.
Yeah, you know what? That is a perfect blog title.
Yeah, that's like a blog title. Maybe someday we'll do that. But yeah, Imaginary Stories. And yes, New Teen Titans.
Mm-hmm. Because like you said, Kelly, the X-Men, Spider-Man, the stuff, let's say Spawn, whatever. Who cares? But one thing we're gonna lead off with, let you know, just people just might not remember just how big the new Teen Titans were in the 80s. Mm-hmm. And we're going to get to that, but that's one of the reasons why we chose this, because it seems like it's a forgotten fact, whereas guys like Kelly and I remember just how big this was. And, so, again, like you said, forgotten facts.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I got into comics pretty much right at the beginning of the 80s. So right when New Teen Titans started, that was 1980. And yeah, like Johnny said, it was a huge comic book for at least the first half of the 80s for sure, and neck and neck with the X-Men that had, by the late 70s, the X-Men had, rebooted, had changed the lineup and became sort of the lineup that's associated now with the X-Men and became hugely popular. But there was a time when, X-Men and New Teen Titans were neck and neck. So there's a lot to talk about. I guess to start, I mean, kind of set the table for where we're at with the debut of this comic book. It was in November 1980. If you know your comics history, at the time, comics had sort of gone through a dark period in the 70s. Sales had dropped off quite a bit, and actually a lot of the variety of comics had died in the 70s, because before the 70s you had superhero comics obviously, but you also had a lot of romance comics, war comics, westerns, sort of comedy, funny animal stuff, the Archie comics. There was a lot more variety, but by the end of the 70s, sort of all the non uber geeky superhero fans had been kind of turned off, and you were down to sort of just your superhero comic.
Yeah, and Archie.
And Archie survived.
Because even by the end of the 70s, early 80s, the Richie Rich comics, Hot Stuff, Casper, all those, which were pretty big and popular, they were pretty much gone by then.
They were dying. Yeah, I remember them still being around when I first got into comics, but they didn't last too long after that. And I mean, what basically happened was that comics, were saved by the comic book store, sort of the birth of the comic book store, and being able to sell comics directly through them and not having to rely on the newsstands. And that was a better deal for the comic book publishers, basically, because you couldn't return them from the comic book stores. If you anything that was on the newsstands could be returned if they weren't sold. So comics were losing a lot of money that way, right?
Yes, and also right around this time, even when they were returned, a big pile of them would come to be delivered directly to me, because I had a contact. I did. My grandmother's friend's son was the guy who would pick up the comics.
Yeah.
He'd just take this huge pile of everything and drop it off at my grandmother's, and once a month I had this gift package of just a giant stack of comics. It was awesome.
Yeah, well, maybe that's a good thing to talk about right now, is before we get into it, is sort of explain maybe briefly as we can our sort of our origins, as yes, to take an oft-used comic book phrase, origins of our introduction into comics fandom, or how we became a comic book fan. Johnny, how was it for you?
You know what? It's so funny because I almost don't remember, because it was so early in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember like seeing the colors. I'm talking about like before kindergarten.
Yeah.
And I think they would just like hand me one every now and then, so I could just look at the pictures. One of the earliest ones I remember having was a Marvel Tales, the Spider-Man reprint book, that had the reprint of the first appearance of the Prowler, and I always loved his look just because of
me too.
that. And I remember I learned how to read from watching Sesame Street Electric Company, which had Spider-Man in it, and looking at a Spider-Man comic I had, and it was an ad for G.I. Joe toys. And suddenly, I remember this as clear as day. Suddenly, a lot of the words in those bubbles I started understanding what they were. And it was at my grandparents' house. And I walked into the living room and I just started reading, and they all like stopped for a second. We're like, "What are you doing?" And they noticed that I was reading. This was like before kindergarten.
Yeah.
And they were like, and so from then on, all of my relatives put up with my comic book fandom because they saw that, wow, this kid's reading. And my parents were also antique dealers. My dad was an auctioneer. We frequented flea markets all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I just exploded into being a huge comic book fan. I couldn't get enough. I had old ones. You know, this is back when people would still sell them at flea markets, not realizing something might be valuable. And it just grew from there. It grew and grew and grew all through the 70s. I had the subscriptions where they'd mail them to you in a little brown wrapper. To a bunch of comics, and the comic book shop was something unheard of. Yeah, there were a few that existed, and they seemed like these mythological places to me. They really did. And then it just grew and grew all the way up for me up until I was about 14, 15, and then I just petered out. And then a few years later, got back into them. But that initial period for me, like 1974 to 1984, my life was about nothing but comic books.
Yeah.
That was it. I was going to conventions.
Yeah.
Having my mom drive me and my friends to New York City and stuff to go to conventions when we're like 11.
Awesome.
Shit. So yeah, it's huge for me.
Yeah. My story is quite similar. Looking back years later, I think I had comics from as early as 1979, so that would have made me only two and a half years old. And I had tons by 1980, so I was already, I can't say I was a collector, but I mean, I grew up in a family where my parents already had basically a family before I came along. They had 5 kids in 9 years, and then I came along 16 years later. So they kind of, and my parents are, the greatest generation, where they grew up with comics being a bigger part of their lives than subsequent generations. So I think I benefited from that, where they would, they were used to buying comics. So they would just buy comics for me without even me asking for them, because that was just what they did. And my dad actually was still reading comics when I was very young. He read, he read Jonah Hex. It was a Western comic published by DC. He was into war comics. He would even read the Archies. But he was never into superheroes, which was funny because he was a big sci-fi science fiction guy. But for some reason, he was never into superhero comics.
Now, did they have just uniquely Canadian comics?
Not really. There was Captain Canuck, which may have.
I was getting at Captain Canuck.
Yeah, you've probably heard of him. That was like late 70s, mid to late 70s.
Oh, okay.
They, from what I remember, those were sold. You would find them in like the toy section of certain stores in a bag with like 3 or 4 issues. I don't remember them ever being.
Wow, dude, that reminds me. Going back, did you have these in the 70s and early 80s in toy stores? Exactly what you're describing. And for us, it was usually 3 comics.
Yeah.
In a bag.
Yeah.
And that you could buy, and sometimes you'd find ones that seemed to maybe have been on that rack for 5 years.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, this comic is from 8 years ago. What the fuck?
Totally.
And there was 3, and it was funny because you could see the cover of 2 of them, and there was one in the middle.
Yeah.
And you just had to peel that plastic and try to get a look and see what was in the middle. Holy crap! I totally forgot about those.
Yeah.
Those were awesome.
Yeah, I remember it was often like Warner Brothers or Disney comics, and also like Superman and Spider-Man. I think they were licensed by a different company.
Ours were flat out. I believe they were flat out Marvel. It was always Marvel.
Okay, because ours were. I think they were another company that licensed all the different titles and put them under their brand. Anyway.
Yeah, you're right. I remember that too.
Yeah.
Anyway, we digress.
Yeah, so that's how I remember the Captain Canuck comics, and I definitely had them. I remember my brother having them too, but actually, outside of that, if you've been to Canada, coming from the United States, you'll soon realize, there's, a lot of little differences, but surface level, Canada is very similar to the States, and especially pop culture wise, we have the same, entertainment, essentially movies, music, wrestling, and then comic books is part of that. So we got all the American comics when the Americans did. It was all at the same time. So yeah, for me, I remember being really into the Spider-Man cartoon from the 60s, late 60s, that was still rerun every day in the early 80s. And I think that was my introduction to superheroes. And then right from the beginning, I was a huge Spider-Man fan. I had more so than any other character. I sampled all the other comics, but Spider-Man was always my favorite right from the beginning. But at first, it was more like a Marvel and DC thing. I liked a lot of DC comics. Johnny and I have talked about this already. In the early 80s, along with New Teen Titans, there was All-Star Squadron, which was a super fun comic based on the World War II DC characters. And Swamp Thing was something I was really into. The Flash, I was big into that era of the Flash too. So yeah, I loved all kinds of comics. Then it was like Johnny said, it was my life. I was younger though than Johnny. We had a couple comic book stores in the early 80s in Calgary, and
everybody is.
Yeah, and I remember going. The pilgrimages to the comic book stores were so much fun because we would do them on like a Saturday morning or Sunday morning on the weekend, and later in the 90s it exploded to where there was comic book stores everywhere, but in the 80s there was only like 2 or 3, it seemed. And that was I'd be buying old issues back then. Like from the get-go, I was into the older stuff. You could get a lot of old stuff for quite cheap back then, so you could get stacks and stacks of stuff. The reprint comics that had all the Marvel reprints from the 60s and 70s, I was a huge fan of them. I had just boxes and boxes and boxes of stuff. And and just similar to Johnny, over the years, it's been, up and down, a lot like my wrestling obsession. But as far as comics go, I haven't really been into them in quite some time. More than 5 years. I'd say around 2008, 2009 was when I stopped being like a weekly comic book store guy. So,
I think the last great thing I read before I sort of just stopped altogether with comics was DC's The New Frontier, and that was so good that I always think, I was like, well, if I'm going to stop reading comic books now, it's best to go out on a high note. Yeah, that was like one of the greatest things I've ever heard.
Yeah, that was a good one because it was the Silver Age characters, right?
It was a story of the transition from the Golden Age to the Silver Age.
That's right.
Via an early 60s landscape. It's a wonderful, wonderful book.
Yeah.
And
totally.
They made a pretty darn good cartoon out of it too. But anyway.
Yeah. So now that we've sort of set the table as fans, now we're looking at something that was near and dear to us then and is still to this day, the New Teen Titans. I was, when I was young, it was very random. Like I bought a lot of comics, or I had a lot of comics bought for me, but it was, other than Spider-Man, it seemed like a lot of them were kind of inconsistent. So I had, several New Teen Titans, but I don't think I really was having them on an issue by issue basis at the time. Years later, in the late 90s, when I had my own money to burn, I went back and I started collecting a whole bunch of old series, and one of them was the New Teen Titans that I put together. So for those of you who don't know, the New Teen Titans is a group of, as the title suggests, teenage superheroes from the DC universe, led by, most famously, of course, Robin, Batman's sidekick. And the book in 1980 actually introduced a lot of new characters to the DC universe. And other than Robin, Wonder Girl, who was originally, I think, the younger version of Wonder Woman, if I'm not mistaken. And then over the years, she became her own separate character.
Kind of. It's sort of. Yeah. They did do in Wonder Woman in the 60s, they did do stories. It was their version of trying to do Superboy.
Right.
Like stories of Wonder Woman as a teenager, down to where they even did Wonder Baby, because they used to do that in DC every now and then. The Adventures of Clark Kent as a baby.
Yeah, the whole family thing.
Yeah. I actually had one of them. I think maybe probably the only one Wonder Woman baby issue. It's something I acquired. I don't think I ever even opened it. And it was from like 65 or something.
Right.
But and then they switched it. Because there was no continuity in Wonder Woman comics, because no one was reading them.
No, none at all. And Wonder Girl's origin was changed so many times. She's so many changes, almost like the Kane of comic books.
Although, and we'll get into this, even though they redid stuff in this initial run we're going to talk about, did have the definitive, to me, Wonder Girl origin.
Yes.
And it was a one-issue thing that was one of the most well-written comics I've ever read.
Yeah.
We'll get into that.
Totally. And then you also had Kid Flash, who was the Flash, Barry Allen version of the Flash. His not really sidekick. He would sometimes be in the same comic as him, but mostly he was kind of on his own. And he eventually would become the Flash, Wally West, years later. And then you had new characters. But before we get into the 1980 New Teen Titans, going by the name New Teen Titans, that suggests there was an old Teen Titans. And
the old teens.
So I think we'll set the table by sort of looking back at how we got to 1980, how we got to the New Teen Titans. And the Teen Titans concept goes back to 1964 for DC Comics. And the first issue that had a team up of these younger superheroes was actually Brave and the Bold, number 54.
I knew it. Actually, I still remember the number because I had that.
Yeah,
I got that at a flea market.
Wow. Yeah, because that would be that'd be one of the ones that'd be worth, or at one point was worth quite a bit in the old.
I sold it for far less than
than the guide value.
The guide value, yes.
Yeah, I don't think anyone ever got guide value for anything. Anyway, yeah, Brave and the Bold was I think it still at this time was kind of a tryout comic where each issue had a different concept that DC was like basically throwing at the wall.
That, and it was a team up comic, but it wasn't. It was a different team up.
Yeah, eventually it would evolve into a Batman team up comic.
This one, they had one was like Dr. Fate and Hawkman was one issue. And then,
I know originally, like the title, the original Brave and the Bold was a book based on like Crusades era.
Yes.
Or sort of, Merlin and King Arthur sort of,
they had a Robin Hood strip in it.
Yeah. So totally non-superhero stuff originally. And like a lot of these books in DC and Marvel evolved from their origins to becoming superhero comics, but they retained the same title throughout all those years. In Marvel, you would have Tales of Suspense and Tales to Astonish, for example, that started out as basically like horror comics and became superhero comics eventually.
Right. But what's funny is those titles still made sense when the superheroes were in them, but the one that didn't was Journey into Mystery. Because they introduced Thor, and then it just became the Thor book, and it was called Journey into Mystery, which had nothing to do with Thor whatsoever. It took about 20. I think it took about maybe 20 issues before they just
think more than that.
It was more than that, but they shrunk the title.
That's
Journey
right.
Into Mystery.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It just said Thor.
And the story behind that is that it was comics, or especially Marvel at the time, was on such a shoestring budget that they couldn't afford to start new titles because the post office would charge you a certain fee for starting a new periodical.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
So that's why they retained the numbering of these comics, because it was like a trick that they would do. So they say, we're not starting a new comic. It's the 100th issue of Captain America, right? Whereas the first 99 issues were Tales of Suspense. But they switched it to Captain America with 100. I think eventually the post office called their bullshit on that and forced them. But by that time, Marvel had become quite successful, so they could afford to do that. But,
that's so funny.
Yeah, if you ever wondered why suddenly one comic was... Because with, Journey into Mystery, it became Thor with, I think, number 125 or 126 or something like that. If you ever wondered why that happened, it was because they were just trying to get around paying a fee to the post office, basically.
You know what? By the way, ladies everywhere are listening to this and just dropping their pants. I'm just saying.
Oh, totally.
Come on, ladies.
You thought wrestling podcasts were nerdy. Well, now we're getting into some really, really nerdy territory. So anyway, the first issue with a team up of teen heroes was Brave and the Bold 54 from the summer of 1964. And in this issue, you had Robin, Kid Flash, and Aqualad was the third one.
Yep.
And the cover, nowhere on the cover or in the issue was the name Teen Titans used.
Nope.
It wasn't even, hadn't been thought of at this time.
And the plot, and I remember this, the plot was there was a villain who looked like a Revolutionary War dude.
Yes.
Who I think controlled the weather.
Yep, Mr. Twister.
Mr. Twister with a wand. But the underlying theme of this is this mid-60s, okay?
Yeah.
So it starts off with the kids, being mad at the adults, Batman, Aquaman, and Flash, because they're so square and don't get it. And there's a town in Massachusetts or wherever where the teenagers are uprising, and the adult heroes are reading about these kids today. And the teen and the kid character's like, man, they just don't get it. We got to go up there and help these kids. And they're up there and they're at their soda shops and swinging to their rock and roll music. They're all very white.
Yes.
And this Mr. Twister guy is somehow manipulating the whole thing to get the parents and the kids to fight. And it's awesome in its dopiness.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I love these old DC issues at the time. Because they were written mostly by guys who had been writing comics since, the Great Depression.
Yeah.
And suddenly the world was changing quite rapidly around them, and they were sort of forced to adapt, and you would get some pretty strange stories as a result. The initial Titans story in Brave and the Bold was written by Bob Haney, a man who would be associated with the Teen Titans throughout the 60s and early 70s too. I don't know a lot about Bob Haney at all. I mean, I've seen the name for sure before.
He was the hippest guy at DC.
Yeah.
Get Haney on it. He listens to the Beatles.
Oh God! I hope that's how it was determined. And the art was by Bruno, not San Martino. Bruno Premiani, who I'm not exactly sure who he was. Not a name I'm too familiar with. And yes, Mr. Twister, this was his first and only appearance, which wasn't unusual, especially in DC Comics back then, where you'd have a different villain every month. I mean, you had a lot of repeat villains, but DC Comics were famous for creating basically new alien races with each issue with no continuity, whereas Marvel would have the Skrulls and the Kree and so forth. DC went through different ones every month and different characters you would never see again. So Mr. Twister never appeared again, I don't think.
They also had weird, the idea of continuity was really strange in DC at the time because certain books had it.
Right.
And certain books, not really.
Yeah.
For instance, Legion of Superheroes and Adventure Comics had it was definite.
Yeah.
Even back then, there was every shit was referenced from issues before. Everything meant nothing was standalone.
Yeah.
Whereas like the Batman books were kind of standalone.
Yeah.
Superman books pretty much were standalone.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was no cohesive bullpen where everything has to be mixed with everything else. That just didn't exist.
And then the reason for that is basically that in DC, like comparing the two comic book publishers, DC was this huge company that had all kinds of different editors, and basically, there was several different universes within the DC superhero universe where an editor was in charge of maybe 3 or 4 books, and another editor would be in charge of all the Batman books, another one all the Superman books. So there wasn't this cohesion at all. So it just depended on who the editor was, whether you had continuity or not. Whereas at Marvel, you had maybe 5 people working for the company. I've read the history of Marvel Comics before. It was a book that came out a few years ago. It's very interesting, describing how, especially in like 63, 64, how much of a small operation Marvel was. It was very small.
Down to it was even this Justice League, the Justice League of America book, which is the team up of everyone, not referenced in any of the solo books ever.
No.
Except maybe oh yes, we're in the Justice League together. That's maybe it.
Yeah.
There's no when the Justice League fought this villain a few months ago, we did this. Maybe I should take this. No. Yeah, just nothing.
Nope. And that was one of the main appeals of Marvel, was this cohesion right from the get-go almost, where everything was connected, but that was because Stan Lee was writing almost every friggin' book, and that's why you had it all connected. So that from there, so this was, a tryout. I don't even know if this was necessarily the first appearance of these teen heroes, if they had big plans for them in the future, or if this was just a one-off thing that sort of caught fire.
I'm thinking your second idea is I mean, I don't know for certain. I think I remember reading that issue sold really well.
Yeah, and that was back then, and to this day also, but especially back then. I mean, they were desperate for a big hit, and if something did catch on, unusually well, it would usually get its own title. So I guess it was almost a year later, actually, July 1965, Brave and the Bold number 60 was the first official Teen Titans comic, as far as having a logo on the cover. And then for this issue, you had Wonder Girl joining the 3 others to form basically what would be the original classic lineup of Teen Titans. And this was done by the same writer and artist team, Bob Haney and Bruno Premiani. And it was a story called The Astounding Separated Man, another one-off villain. And yeah. So from there, they had one more tryout. They had a showcase tryout, showcase number 59. And showcase was very similar to Brave and the Bold at the time. It was a tryout book. Famously, the showcase was where the Flash, the modern new Flash, debuted and sort of kickstarted the Silver Age.
You got Green Lantern too?
Yeah, Green Lantern. Yeah, that's right. And so it was a historically important book. And for this one, it was Showcase 59 from November 1965. The story was called The Return of the Teen Titans. It was done by Bob Haney, and the art was by Nick Cardy, who was a man who would become very... he would be associated with the Titans from then on throughout into the early 70s as the main artist. And the villains in this story were called the Flips. And this was... you were getting into the mod era. And the story was that there was a rock group called the Flips, made up of Jack, Jill, and Joe, who in this story were impersonated by 3 crooks. And so throughout the story, you thought, oh, these young rock and rollers had went bad. They had special technology for their guitars and such. And at the end, it was revealed that really they were impersonated by these crooks. And the cover blurb for this is quintessential mid 60s DC. It goes, "Dig this crazy scene!" Exclamation mark. "Two guys and a gal, a trio of trouble for the fabulous foursome." And
Dude, you just picture a bunch of old white guys in DC. And he's like, "Hey, dig this crazy scene."
yeah, oh yeah, like the word "dig" would get used in pretty much every DC comic for about 2 years from then on.
That's awesome.
And so yeah, after that, finally they graduated into their own book. And the first issue came out at the beginning of 1966, or I guess late 65, considering how the title or the months were always 2 or 3 months ahead on the covers. So
another trick.
Another trick to get them to keep the comics on the stands for as long as possible.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that about old comics. How it was all tricks and cheap products sold in the comics. It was like the stuff that was advertised in comics at this time is just, it's priceless.
Oh, I used to buy some of that shit.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Did you ever
did I ever what?
buy the underwater? What was that one that they?
Oh, sea monkeys.
Sea monkeys. Yeah.
Yeah, I bought sea monkeys.
Oh, awesome.
I bought the sea monkeys. The best one I got was, and remember this one, it was get 1,000 army men. And it had this drawing of this huge war scene, and you send away for just $1, and they will send you 1,000 army men. And you had this idea that there could be those ones, the 3D ones,
Yeah.
that if you step on them they hurt. From Toy Story, with tanks and battleships and all this, and you'd get it, and it was a box not even the size of a shoebox. And it had all that stuff in it, and it was all really small, and they were flat. They'd stand, so they'd stand up, but they were all flat.
Yeah.
And at first, I'm like, oh, what a rip. But then I looked at the detail in them, and I'm like, oh, no, this is okay. There's actually there's a fucking 1,000 of these things, and I would just stage these giant wars with those things. Those were cool.
That's cool. No, I never bought anything sold from a comic book. I should have. So yeah, now we're.
Wait! You must have bought a tasty cake at some point, or
yeah,
not tasty cake, Hostess.
Hostess, yes, of course.
Yeah, you must have. Okay, I just gave away my East Coast roots. Tasty cake. The Hostess comic book ads. Were the heroes. DC and Marvel had them.
Yeah.
Where they would foil somebody's evil scheme by throwing a fucking Twinkie at them.
Yes.
Fucking great.
Oh, we could do a whole show on those, I'm sure.
We should.
That's awesome. Okay, so yeah, I mean we're in the thick of the mod era of DC. The second issue of Teen Titans saw the debut of the black and white go-go checkers on the top of the DC comics, which would last for just over a year, actually. The idea was it would make them stand out on the newsstands.
And Marvel did the same thing.
No, Marvel didn't do the checkers.
Oh, what they did? They did something.
They had pop art.
Pop art. Marvel.
Yeah.
This is a Marvel pop art.
Yeah.
But they didn't put something on the top.
I don't think in the 60s they did. I don't think. No, DC had the checkers.
Yeah. Okay.
Which
the pop art.
Yeah, which was, it I don't know. At the time, like I said, things were changing pretty quickly, and then they were just grasping at all these like phrases that were in the papers. With the fourth issue, Speedy debuted as actually a guest star, and Speedy was the Green Arrow's sidekick, who would have quite an interesting future ahead of him, to say the least.
Yes, we'll be getting into that in the future.
Yes. So at first he was just like a off and on or part-time member. With the seventh issue, they had the Mad Mod as their villain, which was a recurring villain. He was English, of course, from swinging London.
Mm.
And the book, by the time you got to like issue 18, things started to change quite frequently. Haney was gone as the writer. You actually had Marv Wolfman and Len Wein, I think is how you pronounce his name.
So I think it's Wolfman.
Yeah.
He's the Wolfman.
Yeah. Well, that's how it's spelled.
Wow.
So they actually had wrote one issue in the late 60s, right when they were just breaking into the business, and they would become a big part of comics from then on.
A big part of Marv is going to be a big part of Teen Titans.
Yep, big part of the story we're about to tell. Neil Adams wrote and drew about 3 issues in the late 60s. And then things started to really change, where you had basically, the late 60s, relevant sort of stories creeping in, where you started to get these different characters. Hawk and Dove joined the Titans in number 25, and Hawk and Dove were this Steve Ditko creation, where one member was, of course, a hawk, was a conservative, and the other person was a dove, a liberal, and they were, I guess, brothers, right?
Yeah, they're brothers, Hank and Don.
Yeah.
Of course. Now, amazingly, Hank was Hawk and Don was Dove. That's,
Yes.
in case you were wondering.
Yeah.
The idea was Hank wants to fight all the time, and Dove is a pacifist superhero.
Right.
So.
And
take Steve Ditko at this time, mix that all together in your head and figure out where this was going.
Yes, yeah. I mean, Steve Ditko, who was part of the original Spider-Man team with Stan Lee, by the late '60s, his conservative political beliefs basically couldn't be separated from his job as a comic book illustrator. And Hawk and Dove were this was his take on politics, whereas, of course, he was the Hawk, and he didn't have much respect for the Dove. I think in the comics, if you look at it, the Dove is definitely portrayed as being, the weaker, the sort of the Hawk's view is sort of the right view, whereas
I wouldn't know from those. I've never read any of the earlier ones, because later on, of course, they wrote that the Hawk is sort of a big dummy.
Right. It was basically reversed by the time you got to the 80s. But the original concept was sort of a vehicle for Ditko's conservative political beliefs. And now we're getting really into the 60s here. Another new character introduced is Lilith, who was, when they find her, she was a go-go dancer at a discotheque. And she's a telepath. And this was, the new direction for the series. She didn't have a costume, and that was kind of becoming a trend at the time. A lot of Wonder Woman famously gave up her costume and her powers around the same time and became a judo expert. There's another podcast for you.
Uh-huh.
And then shortly after, the first black character joined the Teen Titans. His name was Mal. Eventually, later, it was revealed his full name was Malcolm Duncan. And he would, did he really have a power at first? I'm not even sure.
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think, at first they didn't even give him a last name. For it's Mal.
He's just Mal.
They just should have called him Token and been done with it. But does Mal have any powers? No.
No.
What does Mal do? He just hangs around.
He's black.
He's black.
Come on.
And then when they do give him a power, he's suddenly Satchmo.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, Mal goes through a bunch of different sort of, not costume changes, but character changes over the years. And at the same time, the Titans went under the influence of a benefactor named Mr. Jupiter, who was this mysterious financier of basically like a secret government sponsored training project for teenagers. And yeah, it was kind of strange. The title was clearly struggling by this point, because only maybe 5 issues later, it was totally changed again to where it became like a quasi horror book in the early 70s. In the early 70s, the Comics Code, which had kind of handcuffed comics from the mid 50s, mid to late 50s throughout the 60s, had been loosened. Like the regulations had been loosened for the first time in quite a while, to where the publishers thought that horror comics were going to be, back in vogue because they were big in the early 50s and they were very violent, and it caused this big uproar that helped bring about the Comics Code, which was basically the self-censorship of the comic book industry, which was quite harsh, like compared to censorships in other media. The censorship that comics went through was quite harsh, where you couldn't even have like vampires or Wolfman characters.
Wolfman.
It was that extreme. So in the early 70s, suddenly they thought, oh well, we had the regulations loosened, so I think horror comics are going to be popular again. So a lot of comics suddenly became influenced by horror. And
and I'm going to interrupt real quick. The most famous to me would be in adventure comics. In the early 70s, there was a run of the Spectre.
Yes.
That short half book stories.
Yeah.
That were just pure horror.
Yeah.
And I believe Jim Aparo drew them, and
he did.
Just the most fucked up shit.
Yeah.
it was the most fucked up shit since the 50s.
Yeah.
The Spectre would turn a guy, a criminal, into living wood, and then go through a buzzsaw.
Yes.
Shit. They actually did a reference to that. Speaking of Brave and the Bold, the Batman cartoon from a few years ago, Brave and the Bold.
Yeah.
Which was really aimed at kids, but is wonderful. It's a Silver Age like extravaganza. They do a Spectre little bit where he changes a bad guy into a living hunk of cheese and sends rats at him, and all you see is the cheese man going no, and then a million rats descending on him. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that was cool. I do have some of those reprints of the Spectre adventure comics, and yeah, they're pretty cool. But anyway, the horror slant didn't work, and come January 1973, with issue number 43, the Teen Titans was finally canceled, and it would be the last issue for 3.5 years. Mm. And then it was brought back in November 1976, picking up with the same numbering. So this was number 44. You had basically the original team, Robin, Kid Flash, Wonder Girl. Actually, at some point, Aqualad left. I think he left well before the big changes in the 60s. And you had Speedy, Mal was brought back, and a man named Bob Rozakis becomes the permanent writer at this time, who I think did a lot behind the scenes eventually in DC in the 80s. But this incarnation of the Titans is not very fondly remembered. It lasted about 2 years, and not even actually, a year and a half. And there was a bunch of new characters introduced. Mal became the Guardian with the first issue, like the new Guardian. And the Guardian was a character, I think, going back to the World War II era.
Yep, with the Newsboy Legion.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Right. The original Newsboy Legion of Jack Kirby and Joe Simon back in the early 40s. But confusingly, after Mal became the Guardian, issue number 44, issue number 45, he becomes the Hornblower. So he only lasted as the Guardian for one issue.
I see skies of blue.
So it's never a good sign when there's like that rapid of a character change. Anyway, so yeah, he got this mystical horn that when he blew it, did something to help the Titans and make them.
I don't know. It did something.
It did something. To be honest, I've never read any of these comics.
I did, but I don't remember. I think it was like Sonic Waves or some shit like that.
Like that. And Also, we have the Joker's daughter joining the team in issue number 46, who became the Harlequin in issue number 48.
And a weird character. I remember getting a couple of these, like I said, back when I was a kid, you just find comics places.
Yeah.
And I get a couple of these, and there was something off-putting about them. I can't even describe why, but Joker's daughter was weird, and because she wasn't really the Joker's daughter. Because initially she was like basically a female Joker, but a good guy.
Right.
And they reveal that her last name is Dent, so she's actually she's actually supposed to be Two-Face's daughter.
That's right.
And it was all real weird, but it was great. The one thing they didn't do is they didn't draw her as a hottie. She was tall, skinny, lanky, kind of looked like Big Ethel. Basically,
yes,
the Archie comics.
That's a good way of describing her. Exactly. Actually, yeah, not very feminine at all. And then we had Mal becoming the Guardian again, only 4 or 5 issues later. So they don't know what to do with this Mal character.
His music lessons were just too expensive.
Yeah. Apparently, like they set up this whole big backstory about the horn and where it came from, and there was this mystery behind it, and then it was all just dropped.
Or maybe somebody at DC went, oh, wait, really? Okay, the black guy now is blowing a horn? What the fuck's wrong with you?
Yeah, that could have been. And then we have several other characters joining. Bumblebee joined the team, who was a black character, female black character. And then with issue 50... you have the debut of Teen Titans West, which adds a whole bunch of extra characters here. We have Beast Boy, who would become Changeling, who would be featured in the new Teen Titans. You would have Batgirl, but not the Batgirl that you would... not Barbara Gordon. This was the 50s Batgirl.
Yeah, the original Batgirl.
The original Batgirl, who was... I don't know, she was... There was a Batwoman, too, at that time.
Kathy Kane. Yes. Eventually they would be retconned to be Earth 2 characters, if I'm not mistaken. And eventually into the modern age, Batwoman is a character in the comics now, and an out and proud lesbian.
Right. Yes. It gets confusing. There was a character called the Golden Eagle, who was basically a teen Hawkman. Very similar costume. And then you had the Hawk and Dove back, and Lilith returned. So now you have 14...
Wait, and Lilith had her boyfriend, the caveman dude, Narc.
Oh, that's right. So you had, I think, even more than 14.
The Gnark?
Gnark, yeah, but he died within a couple issues, I believe. They had this storyline with the Teen Titans West, and I believe Gnark didn't survive it.
He was too beautiful and innocent a soul to live in this crazy world.
Yeah, frozen caveman, Narc.
Frozen caveman Teen Titan.
So yes, you have 14 characters, which is way too many. And the title died yet again. Number 53. February 1978 was the last Titans comic.
Although, do you think maybe when Marvel launched West Coast Avengers, there was just somebody somewhere at DC going, fuck you, we did that.
We did that and nobody gave a shit. Probably. Yes. Well, not that West Coast Avengers was exactly the greatest book ever, although the initial issues were pretty fun. From what I remember.
I like watching John Byrne go crazier.
Yes. Yeah, when he got a hold of the title.
Again, another podcast.
Another podcast. So 2.5 years pass, and a lot had changed in the time in between. Because by 1980, comics were starting to gain momentum again, superhero comics. A lot of people credit actually Star Wars coming out in 1977 for sort of getting the ball rolling as far as like science fiction and these groups and people with sort of like, powers and that sort of stuff to become like a pop culture thing again. And a lot of people say, well, the X-Men, was very, in a way, kind of similar to what Star Wars was doing. Especially X-Men kind of went cosmic at the time and did a lot of stories in space. And anyway, sort of you had this build up by 1980 where, people were getting a bit more back into like the fantasy sort of storytelling. So there was some momentum. And so New Teen Titans debuted late 1980. And there had been a big changeover in DC at this time. You had a new publisher who was Jeanette Kahn, and a new executive vice president that was Paul Levitz, who would be involved in DC. I think even, I don't know if he still is, but he was for quite some time. And Joe Orlando became the head of production, who was a famous artist going back to the EC comic days of the 1950s, and who was involved heavily with the war comics in the 60s and 70s in DC. He was, I believe he was the editor of those, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, no, he was the editor of, House of Mystery and that other one, House of Secrets.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, you had sort of this new group in charge of DC. New ideas were out there. Basically, one of DC's main ideas was to target the hardcore fans and to target the comic book store fans, first and foremost, because they'd kind of lost a lot to Marvel through the course of the 70s. So when the 70s began, DC was still the top publisher, but only a few years into the 70s, Marvel overtook them, and then sort of the story of DC for the rest of the 70s was like treading water, and a lot of titles were canceled. A lot of failures. Like you'd have a lot of books debut and then be canceled 3, 4, or 5 issues later.
There was even a collection of last issues that never got published from the early 70s called Canceled Comics Cavalcade.
Yeah, that's right.
That I've never seen one, but they used to list it in the Overstreet.
Yep, that's true. Marvel wasn't exactly, setting the world on fire in the 70s either, but they were definitely the number one publisher.
Yeah. Well, Marvel still had a cool presence in the 70s because they were putting out those books.
Yeah.
Like the Origins, those big giant paperbacks that I loved.
Yeah.
They don't know. There was definitely a feeling Marvel was out there. The Hulk TV show was a big part of that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Let's not talk about the Spider-Man TV show. Stunk. But a lot of it was, but by 1980, Marvel really was kicking into high gear, and DC there were certain books that were selling, and there was good stuff too. But like the Superman books were their own universe. But you had stuff going on in some of the fringe books. Legion of Superheroes was starting to get really fucking good,
right,
and with intricate storylines. Batman was like hit or miss. There was like that great run with Steve Englehart and Marshall Rogers doing the art, and I think on Detective actually, maybe.
Yeah, it was.
And, that was the Laughing Fish, the most famous. Thing. Great little bursts here and there, but Marvel was definitely taken over by 1980. That they were, it wasn't like DC was going to go out of business or anything.
No.
But Marvel was definitely the hipper and cooler, and had been established now as the hipper and cooler.
Yeah, and DC was actually purchased by Warner Brothers.
Yes.
I want to say 73-ish, like quite a while before. So they were owned by a major.
So basically, when some old guy at DC sees that Disney bought Marvel, he's like, we did that first too.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas Marvel was owned by sort of like this fringe, what was it, a chemical company or something?
Yeah, it was some sort of textile.
Yeah, Marvel always had this dodgy history of parent companies, whereas DC was always associated with something respectable. So yeah, DC had solid footing. Like the Superman movie came out in 1978.
Yeah,
it was a huge hit.
Of course.
And also by 1980, a bunch of new editors and writers had joined DC. that would sort of shape things for the years to come, like Dick Gianardo, Len Wein. I've never been entirely certain how to pronounce his name.
Let's go with Wine.
I think it's Wine. Roy Thomas, Marv Wolfman, of course, and artist George Perez.
Yes.
And all these guys had been, well, except for Gianardo, had been big names at Marvel in the 1970s. I mean, Wine, Thomas, and Wolfman had all been editors-in-chief at one point.
Perez had that great run on Fantastic Four in the mid-'70s.
Yeah.
That was, speaking of great burst, there was this great burst of Fantastic Four in the 70s where George Perez was doing the art, and there was these long storylines that would run just for like 9 issues or more, but great stuff. And I remember seeing those and being like, I like this artist.
Right.
And little did I know how much more I was going to like him a few years later.
Yeah. Like in general, there was a lot of new blood getting into comics, like Perez, but also John Byrne at Marvel, Frank Miller, and new, like a more mature approach, I would say.
Terry Austin on inks. Bill Sienkiewicz. I can never pronounce his name. They were all starting to pop up.
Yep. Yeah. And basically like a more mature take on superhero comics, especially like Miller's Daredevil was something you hadn't really seen in at least like sort of mainstream comics in a long time. So the time was right for something new. DC really, when New Teen Titans came out, hadn't had a real hit comic since the Batmania days of 1966, when the Batman TV show came out and led to like the comic book selling, like 1 million copies per month. Nothing that ever blew up, just steady. No. So this was, Teen Titans came out and actually, within, I think, 4 or 5 issues was the top seller for DC.
And they debuted in DC Comics Presents.
Yeah.
The Superman team-up book.
Yeah.
Because back then DC started doing this, and it was really neat. Every now and then in some book, they'd throw in a 10-page teaser for an upcoming book in the middle of the book. Yeah. That's how they debuted New Teen Titans. All-Star Squadron was done in an issue of Justice League. The Night Force, which stunk.
Captain Carrot.
Captain Carrot was it's awesome.
I think it was in the New Teen Titans event.
It was in the New Teen Titans. That's right.
And He-Man was another one.
Well, no. They didn't do that with He-Man. In that, the first He-Man appearance was in a issue of DC Comics Presents, where Superman travels to Eternia. I'm pretty sure because they didn't do a book.
Yeah, I think
there was no He-Man book after that.
I thought there was like a mini series, maybe. Oh, maybe not.
Maybe I don't know.
There was something DC related with He-Man. I know that for sure.
I just remember Superman shows up in the He-Man world and he's like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah, there was some sort of crossover. Yeah. But anyway, it was like a mini or like a bonus comic. Yeah, it would have its own cover, essentially, right? Within the comic. It was cool.
Within it, I remember buying that at a convention because I needed to get my collection full. And it's just a little teaser story where Robin has a dream.
Right.
About these people he's never met before and these aliens he's never seen before. Yeah. And what does this all mean? Mm-hmm. In an issue of the Green Lantern Superman team up that was particularly dull, if I recall.
Yeah, I have it. I have that issue too. It was one of the last ones to complete the collection that I found, actually.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah, and it had the date stamp on it. I couldn't find an issue without the date stamp, so I just bought it. Whatever. Back when I cared about such things like that. The X-Men has been mentioned had blown up pretty big for Marvel by the late 70s, beginning of the 80s. So it was a definite influence on the New Teen Titans.
Because X-Men was even though they were supposed to be teenagers.
Yeah.
Even then, even though John Byrne drawing Storm like she's the hottest thing you've ever seen, and she's supposed to be a teenager.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the original X-Men were definitely teenagers.
Right.
I mean, by the time you got to the late 70s, early 80s, I guess they were...
Well, no, because Colossus was supposed to be a teenager.
That's right.
Storm was supposed to be a teenager.
Yeah.
Kitty Pryde's the only one that was ever actually drawn like a fucking teenager.
And she was quite younger.
13.
Yeah.
Supposed to be. But Nightcrawler is supposed to be pretty young. Wolverine, of course not. But,
I'm only 19, bub.
Yeah.
Here's my ID. 19 and Wolverine.
See, now everyone needs to realize that that's the best Wolverine impression because Kelly's Canadian, so he knows what he sounds like.
Yeah, I don't even have to try. It's just my normal voice. But like the team book, but also I think, like I mentioned before, the X-Men kind of going into like the cosmic realm, and so that the Titans introduced new characters like Starfire, who was cosmic, and
You bet she was.
Yes, very cosmic, very very good looking, orange skinned, and yes, her cup runneth over.
Yes, orange skinned with gigantic cans.
Yes.
Okay, and just gets drawn more and more and more hot over the years.
Yeah, basically wearing a bikini. Yeah, like her outfit was quite skimpy.
But also a great character because they introduced these characters and there was some thought put into their backstories from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
And so these are we're just throwing shit against the wall, like all 4 of the brand new characters, and then the one that they gave a good background to. So Princess Coriander of Tamaran.
Right. Yeah, a very extensive background that would get, referenced and brought back over the issues. They would keep going back to that. If it hasn't been made clear, the writer was Marv Wolfman, and the artist was George Perez. And they meshed very well together right from the get-go.
Amazingly.
Yep. And there was 2 other new characters. One is called Cyborg, and that's what he was. He had a very... I remember, of course, they do this miniseries later where they do the origins of the new characters, basically.
Real fleshed out.
Yeah, very fleshed out origins, with each issue being a standalone origin issue. And I remember the Cyborg one, when I read it as a kid, being very disturbing because of the way he becomes Cyborg in like this very violent, science mishap where his father is killed and his mother...
No, his mother is killed.
Mother's
his
killed.
Lives.
Okay, right. And the person who becomes Cyborg is very horribly disfigured in this explosion accident.
He's trying to gain access to another dimension, and this like goopy alien thing comes out, kills the mother, is eating Cyborg in half.
Yes.
Or Vic Wilson.
Vic Stone.
Vic Stone, that's it. Vic Wilson. I'm thinking of Deathstroke. He's like being eaten in half, and the father saves him and turns him into a cyborg to save his life, and which they do reference in the earlier issues because they get to a point where there's an issue where they reveal that the father has been the guy who provided them with Titan's Tower.
Oh, that's
which is their headquarters.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It was really, they hinted on it and showed you in the Flash origin, not the Flash, but the Quickie version.
Yeah.
The book. But in that, the miniseries where they all go camping.
Yeah.
And each tell their own story.
Mm-hmm.
And that one's like amazingly violent. Not just that, it's like, he has a background in gangs and his best friends and a gang.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of killing in that one.
Yes. I still to this day can remember that one very clearly. So he was a new character, kind of you could compare him to Colossus from the X-Men as far as sort of the look and also the super strength sort of aspect to him. And then lastly, you have the character Raven,
Yes.
who was definitely one of the more interesting characters, probably the most interesting of all of them. As I think we'll flesh out as we get into some of the stories.
Or lose flesh, actually.
Yes. She had a great set of legs on her, first and foremost.
At first.
Yes.
We're saying, see, at first they drew Raven. She had great legs and huge tits and was really cute. And as they developed the character, they shrunk her. You know, like it was almost like she was a bulimic. And they do explain it. Like later on, it's at some point Marv Wolfman and George Perez said, "Well, let's explain it this way." And the way they explain it, where the Titans are looking at pictures of her from when they first met her to then, and seeing the change in her
face,
and going, "Huh."
Yeah. So the character Raven basically was the person who brought them together in the first issue. Her character she's a mystic. She's a empath. She's, kind of like she was definitely the darkest character by far of the team. Always sort of removed from the rest of the group. Her past is quite interesting as she's, literally sort of she's the daughter of basically the living embodiment of evil. A character named Trigon, who we'll get into. So she has that past. Basically, like a huge dark side. I guess you could compare it to the Phoenix character of X-Men in a lot of ways. Always sort of on the verge of like losing control. So we have this team, and we have Changeling, who was Beast Boy in the sad last days of the original Teen Titans.
Also was a character from the 60s Doom Patrol.
That's right. Which is an interesting book with an interesting history. And definitely I think he's the youngest member of the group. I think he's portrayed to be around 15 or so when the book starts.
15 or 16.
Yeah. So the youngest, his powers, of course, he can change into, all kinds of different forms. But always green.
Animals. It's got to be an animal.
Yeah, right. Animals. That's right. Beast Boy. His original name. And green skinned. And that's he's also the comic relief guy. He's the character with all the snappy jokes. Right. But in his thought bubbles, it'd be like, "Oh, I'm such a tortured soul." And
exactly. Yeah. Well, eventually, he's hiding his pain with his humor.
Yeah. He would always reveal that in his thought bubbles after.
And he's a horn dog too.
He's a major horn dog. Yeah. He's desperate.
He's basically the character that the reader is supposed to identify with.
That's true. Yeah.
Okay, because you're reading this book and it's got all these hot chicks, everything, and your average age of the reader is going to be more 15, 16 or younger. Beast Boy is, got the cool powers and other great jokes. He's the horn dog on the chicks. He's the character you identify with. It's what they did with Kitty Pryde and X-Men.
Yeah.
It's the introduction to Kitty Pryde gave all the readers, it didn't matter if she was a girl, it gave all the readers, that's me on this team that I love to read about.
Yeah, that's a great point. And that's essentially what he was. He was the reader character. Because you had, Robin, of course, he's partners with Batman, high stature. Wonder Girl is part of the Wonder Woman universe. Kid Flash is he's up there in stature too. And
now I do have to mention this one thing that they establish it pretty early in this is that it's how they needed to give these characters some more character work, basically, than just junior versions of their characters. And Kid Flash becomes a ultra conservative. It's part of his character, you know.
That's right.
It's Reagan's America, and Kid Flash is supposed to be from the Midwest, and he's the Midwest conservative of this group, which plays in a few stories.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because each character is unique and has their own personality. I think that's a big appeal to the book.
Which, of course, being written by liberals, he definitely gets his comeuppance about that in a big way in one of the earlier issues.
Yeah, no, it's this is the classic team. The characters, the new characters, which is often tricky to introduce new characters into an established comic book universe. But these ones meshed well, worked well right from the get-go. Perez at this time and for years to come was an amazing artist. One of the best, if not the best, at this time. And Wolfman was a master, I would say, of long-term storytelling, because things are established in the first couple issues that don't get paid off for years. And are slowly built upon over the years with little bits added every once in a while, but nothing in any rushed way. And that makes the first, the 4 or 5 years of the Wolfman Perez team just great, because it's one long story basically when you step back and look at it all. So yeah, it was kind of a throwback to the Silver Age. I would say, like the polished look of this comic. A lot of the 70s comics, the art was substandard and kind of rushed, and there was a lot of inconsistency. And here you sort of had a throwback to like sort of the consistency of the Silver Age of DC, which was actually like so much is talked about of Marvel in the Silver Age, but DC in the Silver Age was great as well, and had like just a really polished look to it, like a very professional group of artists and writers who
and at the top of that list is Kurt Swan. And you can see in these early issues of Titans, before Perez definitely evolves over the course of this book into some of the most amazing shit you ever seen, with like really intricate inking that makes shit just jump off the page. But in these, there's a Kurt Swanish feeling to his take on the characters, which is in no way an insult, because he was one of the greatest of all time.
Oh, totally. Totally a master for years and years on Superman. And the comic New Teen Titans, I think most importantly, felt very modern. It was the 80s. It was now. It was it hit the mood of the times, the zeitgeist, and it just everything sort of converged. It's one of those things you have in art and history where everything sort of just comes together. And this was definitely a moment here. The timing was right, perfect timing for a comic book like this. And so, here we go. We'll look at a lot of the memorable stories. Basically, we're gonna, I think, keep it to the Wolfman Perez original teaming, which lasted to about early 1985 was when they split, at least on the Titans book.
I like to think, and it did for me, is that the run lasted exactly 50 issues. And issue 50 is that was like one of the last books I bought when I got out of comics for a bit when I was in high school. One of the last things I bought was that, and loved it. That would be Wonder Girl's Wedding to famous magician Doug Henning. Oh wait, no, it's wrong term. Terry.
Yes, the controversial Terry character who will
Terry, especially when they reveal that Wonder Girl's supposed to still be 19 years old and this guy is apparently 40. Okay.
Yeah, we'll get into the controversial Terry character. So yeah, for the first issue, Raven calls the team together, basically to rescue Starfire from like this alien slaveholders, basically.
The Gordanians.
Yes, that she was a part of. Now, it's been a long time since I've read this issue. Johnny, you maybe have a bit better detail.
I really don't. I don't remember the details first. The cover of the first issue.
Yeah, iconic.
That you sent me that picture is so iconic.
Yeah.
And you see the Gordanians' hands because they're like green reptile dudes.
Yeah.
And the Titans running at them, and this is a great shot.
Yeah.
But they rescue Corey from the Gordanians, or she arrives on Earth. They follow her there.
Mm-hmm.
And they fight, and they keep her, and they keep her. We're gonna keep you. Robin's got his eye on her.
Yeah.
Already, trust me.
Yeah.
And the team forms. I don't remember a lot of the details of issue number 1.
Yeah.
The first 10 is where they're finding their feet.
Yep.
And it's funny. He says issue 10 was the first one I bought. I just saw it on a magazine rack, and it had this great cover. It's like all the Titans and a big bullseye and an atomic bomb or something coming down on them.
Yeah.
And then I didn't pick up another one until the introduction of the Brother Blood storyline, which we'll get to.
Right.
But I went back and bought all of them. Mm-hmm. And that first 10 issue run, they're finding their feet.
Yeah.
It's definitely something different. This is new from DC. This is definitely a different kind of book. Mm-hmm. But they're definitely finding their feet. Some of the stories aren't quite as memorable.
No, I would agree. I know I didn't have any of the issue 12 or so, 13 Titans, and I was already into comics by the time the first issue came out. So yeah, it took about a year.
The major storyline that they do is introducing Raven's background world. They go, which is another dimension called Azarath, where her mother lives. It's like where a bunch of weird mystical wizards live in another dimension called Azarath, and Satan there is Trigon, who had seduced Raven's mother and had the Omen baby that is Raven.
Yeah,
and they go to that dimension and fight Trigon.
Right.
And that's when it was revealed why she put this team together. And at the end, they all shake hands and be like, we should stay together.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, to fight her father. Basically her mother was a Satanist who was trying to
pretty much
summon the devil and ended up summoning Trigon, who, and I looked back at this recently just to prepare for this show. And Trigon, was from another dimension where he was basically the living embodiment of evil that had been, purged from this race of people and sent out into space. And then he eventually became a person.
Yeah, kind of like it's kind of like the evil gooey oil slick that killed Tasha Yar. Star Trek fans.
Yeah, and he conquered his own planet, then he conquered basically his universe, and then he just lived for killing basically, and conquering.
And he wore a loincloth and
and
four eyes.
Yeah, four eyes. Yeah, red skin, and
scary. It was a scary design.
Yeah, very scary design, and it just one of the more disturbing villains ever created. Whereas there's nothing remotely redeemable about him at all.
Especially because in that origin issue we talked about, they show that it was the 60s and she has the satanic ritual and Trigon appears and he's this gorgeous white dude,
right?
With big model pecs, and they fuck. Yeah. And after they get done, it's almost like she rolls over and it shows his real form. And she's like, oh, God, like I've had mornings like that. Or women have had mornings like that with me. Oh, God.
They summoned Johnny Sorrow. She summoned Johnny Sorrow. Yeah. Oh my
no.
God. So yeah. So with issue 2, this is an important issue because a lot of things are introduced here that have long-term repercussions that don't get paid off for a long time.
While
Yeah. Firstly, we're introduced to the Hive, HIVE,
mm-hmm.
which is the hierarchy of international vengeance and eliminations, which is pretty damn cool acronym.
Now, was this the first appearance of the Hive in DC?
I'm not sure. I know they were kind of hinted at or like shadows in the first issue, but outside of New Teen Titans, honestly I don't know.
Because they're basically AIM from Marvel,
Yes. Yeah.
except in purple hoods.
Yeah, exactly. Basically definitely a very Marvel concept. Yeah, this shadowy organization that, you never really even, I don't know if they really revealed much of the Hive ever.
They do in New Teen Titans right towards the end. There's the big Hive issue.
Okay.
That includes Aqualad and Aquagirl, and they reveal the person behind the Hive and all that stuff. It was right at the end of this run.
Okay. Well, according to the DC wiki page, this was their first appearance.
Oh, neat. Okay.
Yeah. So, this new concept for a group, basically, they specialized in, quote, high-level contract assassinations and mercenary acts of terrorism. They realized they were not strong enough to take out the Justice League. So basically, they targeted the Teen Titans.
Right.
It's almost like a practice run, maybe, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And
Let's take out the B squad first.
Yeah, to take out the B squad. And what they did was they tried to contract a character named the Terminator to do the killing of the Titans. And this is established right at the beginning of the second issue. And he refused because they refused to pay him in advance. And his code was that he gets paid up front. And so they didn't do that, so he declined. And so instead,
and at first he wasn't all that hot on killing kids.
Okay. Yeah.
There's a little of that, I think.
Well, yeah, the character of the Terminator is basically like a tweener character, especially later when he becomes essentially like a Punisher type.
No, that stunk. He should always be a bad guy. He should always be a bad guy. That's the early 90s that we don't talk about.
No,
where bad guys are good guys.
Yes, yeah, that was the Attitude Era of comics.
Exactly.
It's true. They did go through like a very similar change in what was popular. So they asked the Terminator, he declined, and so instead the Hive go and get the son of the Terminator, whose name was Grant Wilson, and he was introduced in the first issue, and they basically give him powers to where he can use 100% of his brain. And I believe that's what Terminator's deal is too?
Or close to.
Something like that.
Close to it. They called him the Ravager.
Yeah, the Ravager. Very much in a very similar costume too, to the Terminator. And so he goes to take out the Titans, and this power they've gave him is too much though for him. And at the end of the second issue, he dies. And from there, the Terminator decides to honor his son's contract with the Hive, and vows to take out the Titans. And this would be the beginning of a long, drawn-out storyline that would only be, hinted every, 5 or more issues. And
you wouldn't see him again until issue 10.
That's right, 10. And the Hive would be behind the scenes with Brother Blood they would be responsible for.
No,
him,
no, no,
weren't
they no, 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 no. They had no connection with Brother
Oh,
Blood.
I thought he was. I thought he was part of that.
I
Okay.
don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay, well, never mind. But anyway, they're sort of behind the scenes, in the shadows for several years after this.
There's science. Brother Blood is a cult.
That's right. So from there, we talked about already the Trigon story, which really kicks in with issue 5. Establishes Raven's motivation basically, and she would be the tormented character throughout.
And Kid Flash is completely in love with her, and she has no interest.
That's right. Yeah.
And then, but they do explain at one point when she says to him, "Look," basically what she says is, "Look, if we do fuck, I'd have to unleash so many emotions that it could unleash the side of me that is my father.
That's
so
right.
Stop fucking hitting on me." And Kid Flash, throughout a large parts of this run, is like, "No, come on, let's fuck." Basically, is what he's getting. He's like, "Why can't I love you, Raven? Why can't you love me?"
Yeah.
She's explained it to you a million fucking times. Dummy.
Yeah. And
okay.
He's very emotional about it and takes it very hard a lot of.
But I love you. He stalks her at college.
Yeah. Yeah. Sob,
crying.
Yeah.
So said, but I love her. I was like, she's telling you.
Yeah.
That she would that she's basically telling him, look, I like you too, but if we do this, something really bad could happen. Yeah. So lay off.
Yeah, but he's a true man, and nothing will prevent him. Him from getting laid.
He's like, look, I'm a Flash. It'll be over in a
Yeah, exactly. What's the worst that could happen?
What's the worst that could happen? You won't even.
You won't even notice it. Yeah. I will, but yeah. Yeah, Flash. Fuck. Yeah, I'd forgotten about a lot of these things.
Yeah. Well, it's because they introduced, which they've been doing in X-Men, more of we'll call it a soap opera sort of thing, where these characters aren't just superheroes. There's lots of human emotions involved and interactions about falling in love and being. I mean, joking aside, it fucking was different than anything DC was doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and that's a good point, and something that was probably more important than the sort of resurgence in the science fiction, the fantasy, was that, the characters became more complex, and there was a lot of, emphasis on their relationships, on their personal lives, and which was, in a way, it was kind of like a throwback to the early Marvel Silver Age stories, right? Yeah. And how they stood out at the time, where DC was all about just, they had well-crafted stories, but the characters didn't really have much of a personality at all. And everything was nice and happy and smiles when they teamed up, and there was no disagreements. And Marvel's characters were always bickering with each other, and guys were quitting teams and joining again and quitting again, and there was all kinds of drama. And that was appealing, and that's appealing, always appealing for people.
But there was a neat feeling they established by issue 10 that these people were all best friends.
Yeah.
And that was a real great vibe that Marv Wolfman did with his writing, is that once they all came together, you like these people not just because they do cool shit. It's like all these characters are cool. They all like each other. They bicker a little bit here and there, but they are friends.
Yeah.
And it was presented so well as far as like the friendships go in this book. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah. That was very appealing. I mean, reading these all from the start years later, it was, very engaging comics. You got into them as people. You wanted to see these stories play out and the relationships and everything. And another thing was Robin and Starfire had this relationship that basically started almost right from the get-go.
Yeah, basically, Starfire is totally into Robin.
Yeah.
And Robin being raised by Bruce fucking Wayne is just so like, let's keep it professional for a little while.
Yeah.
He eventually gives in because who wouldn't?
Exactly.
But no, there was also the neat relationship they established with Beast Boy or Changeling, and Cyborg, because at first Cyborg can't stand him, and they become best friends.
Yeah,
and established in issue 10, because at the end of issue 10, it's a cliffhanger where Raven is sensing that the Terminator has just murdered the Changeling, and she's like, he's dead. And the next issue, they're rushing him to Paradise Island, to heal him under the purple ray or whatever.
Purple ray.
And Cyborg's all is like, oh no, just pissed and upset. And they established that while they were annoyed with each other, they now become the best of friends. And so there was little touches like that really stood this book apart at the time.
Yeah, totally. It was all about the little touches. Because what they were doing otherwise, they had some really good stories, but it was good guys, bad guys, which had been done over and over again. But you had this other layer of their personal lives and their non superhero lives that was really appealing.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
What's up, everybody? This is Kevin Kelly. Make sure you check out every episode of The Kevin Kelly Show right here on the Place to Be Nation. PlaceToBeNation.com. The Kevin Kelly Show. Every episode is a winner. At least we hope.
Place to Be Nation's Justin Rosero here. In addition to The Kevin Kelly Show, we have a ton of great podcasts available to you on iTunes and PlaceToBeNation.com. You can check out myself and Scott Criscolo on The Mothership, the Place to Be podcast, home of great interviews and our famous Vintage Vault pay-per-view reviews. If you need your fix of current wrestling talk, we have plenty of options for you there, including Main Events, which features a roundtable discussion led by PTBN analysts and special guests, our monthly pay-per-view reaction show, including immediate feedback and discussion for WWE, NXT, Ring of Honor, and New Japan Super Shows, and Wrestling with Optimism, which focuses on the positives of the business. Also, be sure to relive wrestling's past through Graham Cawthon's excellent exclusive History of Wrestling podcast, Dylan Hales and Dave Musgrave's Wrestling Culture podcast, our monthly pay-per-view rewind roundtable series led by Ben Morse, and the Dangerous Alliance podcast starring myself and Pro Wrestling Only's Will, diving into various subjects in the form of exercises and games. Sports fans have plenty to dive into as well. We feature The Extra Point with Scott Criscolo and Dr. G, The Kings of Sport featuring live audio wrestling's godfather Nate Milton, The Sports Lounge hosted by Cowboy and Cowboy Senior, as well as the NBA Team Podcast, which takes a year-round deep dive into pro hoops. PTBN also proudly features Richard and the Mailman Podcast, which specializes in the world of TV, thought leadership, anger, and irreverence. As mentioned, all of these shows are available on PlaceToBeNation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world. PTBN is also home to the tremendous in-depth features on pro wrestling, sports, movies, comics, plus tournaments and more. We also want to thank our friends at Bonehead's Wing Bar in West Warwick, Rhode Island and Fall River, Massachusetts, Scott Keats, RSPWFAQ.com blog, and PileDriver.net.
The Place to Be Nation and Pro Wrestling Only are proud to present the PWO PTBN Podcast Network. Join us for a variety of great shows that explore all the facets of professional wrestling.
Join good old Will from Texas for our Place to Be Nation reaction shows and Goodwill Wrestling, which has been kicking since before JR had barbecue sauce.
Listen to Where the Big Boys Play and join Chad and Parv as they discuss classic NWA and WCW pay-per-view.
And take in one of our newest podcasts, Exile on Bed Street, and allow Chris Zellner to give you a history lesson about important moments in wrestling's colorful past.
Listen to Johnny, Pete, Parv, and Kelly, the Titans of Wrestling, as they examine in depth the history of the WWF in the 1970s and 1980s.
And then there's Brainbuster, the wrestling game show, Tag Team's Back Again, the Pro Wrestling Super Show, the All Japan Excite series, and the Super Extreme Vault for some EC Dub.
You can hear all of these great podcasts and more on one feed. Remember, PWO PTBN Podcast Network, part of the Place to Be Nation family.
So we're up to, after the the Doom Patrol.
Okay,
book.
I'm gonna jump in on this one. The Doom Patrol was a short-lived team from the '60s. I think they were featured in Strange Adventures, a DC book, and I think they had their own book for a little bit, and they kill them in the final book. They sacrifice themselves to save like 30 people in a small little town, and the Doom Patrol were Negative Man, Elastigirl, not Elastigirl, it's something like that. But she could just grow real big, like a giant, and Robot Man. And they revealed that Robot Man survived this sacrifice earlier in DC. And the whole thing is the villains who did it got away with it because they never followed up on it ever. It was just it's how they ended. So they do this thing where Changeling, has been with him and his stepfather, who was married to the Elastic Woman, have been trying to hunt down the villains involved in this, and they do a 3-part story of them in the jungle. It's it's amazing. It's so good. Perez's art has started to take a turn to be a bit more detailed, more fine. There's some like serious emotional shit going on because the villain, the female villain, the bad guy villain is a Nazi, and so fuck him. Because he dies at the end. He's shooting at Robot Man, and one of the bullets reflects back and bounces back and hits him. But Madame Rogue, I believe, is her name.
That's right. Yeah.
And she had Monsieur Mallah, the super smart ape, and the brain, who was a brain that lived in a computer, had fucked with her head, and she had been in love with the chief of the Doom Patrol and turned into a villain. And at the end of it, she's fighting Changeling, and he accidentally knocks her into some electrical equipment, and she's dying, and she's brought back to normal, and she thanks him, and as she dies, she's like, "Miles, I'm coming to you," and that was the chief, who was dead at this point in DC. He was dead, and it's in a 3-issue amazing story that was predicated before that with the story they did on Paradise Island, where they just happen to go in there when the original Titans of Greek mythology have been set loose and are attacking Mount Olympus. And Wonder Girl gets seduced by one of them, and they have this huge fight up on Mount Olympus, and the art at this point has really just stepped up. And you're like, wow, this is some really cool shit.
Yeah, like the detail. He would become known for
amazing detail.
Amazing detail that set him apart from most of the other artists. So this was the first appearance of Doom Patrol since the end of them in the 60s?
No, they had introduced the new Doom Patrol, I think, at some point. But yeah, they did. In the 70s, they had the new Doom Patrol.
Okay.
But this was they never wrapped up.
Yeah, the story. Yeah.
This story.
Yeah, because the cover for I'm looking at number 13 says the quest for the killers of the legendary Doom Patrol.
Yeah, there's a great cover where there's like someone's like on a tree.
Yeah, it's Robot Man hanging from like vines.
Yeah, Robot Man. They fuck up Robot Man and leave him there like as a sign.
Yeah, and it's trespassers will be executed. A sign put on them. Yeah.
Yes, and there's even little bits of story in there that are dropping hints towards other stuff. Basically the Brother Blood stuff. The country he's from. There's a floating city or some shit that has some connections to stuff that's going to happen. Some issues later. It's. I can't imagine that Perez and Wolfman sat down and just plotted out at least the first 2 years of this book.
Yeah. Well, apparently they lived, only like 5 blocks away from each other in Queens, so they would get together often to talk about the comic. And they probably plotted out quite a bit of it in advance.
But those Doom Patrol books they're so emotional and not cloying.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I need to go back and now that we've done this, read those again. Because I do remember them from the first 15 or so issues. They definitely stood out.
Well, it's also the first time you see Changeling not as a goofball.
Right.
He's fucking. At one point, he's changing into animals that don't exist, and Madame Rogue in the thought balloon is like, he's out of his mind.
Mm.
He's changing into things that don't exist. Oh my god, he's out of his mind, and in his anger because the Doom Patrol weren't just his team; they were it was his stepmother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. Because it paid off his connection to the Doom Patrol way back, and it's and the continuity was something that I guess DC wasn't generally known for, up to the 1980s, into the 1980s. So definitely, you could feel like a Marvel spirit in these comics.
Which I think is why it was such a hit.
Yeah, that's another part of it, is that it was written with that Marvel spirit that was so popular. And, continuity, that is what sucks you in and makes you a longtime fan, is being able to connect what's going on with what happened in the past and to keep going. That makes you a permanent fan of comic books, of superhero comics. And so that's definitely, Titans had a very tight continuity, extremely tight continuity. So from there, one story that I remember quite a bit, even from when I was young and I first was buying the occasional issue of Titans, was it was issue number 20. It was called Dear Mom and Dad.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's a pretty famous story. It's told from the perspective of Kid Flash writing a letter to his parents. And this was in... they would do these best of the year collections.
In the digest.
Yeah, in the digest form. The small little digest form that most people associate with Archie. And they would do them every year, and it would be a collection of all different comics. And this was represented. The story was chosen as one of the best of the year, and I think that's where I read it. And it was different. Like, it's a totally different approach. It's not your average comic book or superhero comic book, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah. It tells sort of different stories, right?
It's Kid Flash.
Yeah,
is writing a letter to his parents about this case he was on. The other Titans are barely in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a mobster's son who's acquired some sort of weaponry, and he's trying to do shit just to get the approval of his father, the mobster. And it follows. Kid Flash gets fucked up, and at the end he wins.
Mm-hmm.
And the kid, the bad guy kid, is like looking at his dad. He's like, "I was just doing it for you, Dad." And he just like looks at him. He's like, "Yeah, you're nothing. You're just a waste." And Kid Flash is feeling bad for the kid, and he's comparing that relationship to what he has.
Mm-hmm.
And done in the Dear Mom and Dad style that flashes into him writing, and it's just an amazingly done standalone story.
Mm-hmm.
It's fantastic. Which is the positive of Kid. At the end, he goes, he's going to send it, and he goes, "You know what? I'll just deliver it myself."
Right. Yeah.
And go, "See you. I'm the fucking Flash."
Yeah.
And that was a great touch.
Yeah.
But because I teased on it, I just wanted to go back to it. That is the establishment of Kid Flash, Wally West, as being a Midwestern guy with solid family values and all that. but in I think issue 18 or 17, they do one where they reintroduce the original Starfire, who was a Russian superhero called Red Star.
That's right.
From the 60s book. And they introduced him and they call him Starfire. No, he was originally called Starfire. They changed his name to Red Star. And where he's been sent to America because there's a Russian girl with a terrible disease that anyone who comes into contact with her, is going to die. And he's been sent there and he has to team up with the Teen Titans, and his mission is to kill her because that's the best for the common good. And the whole time Kid Flash is like, you commie Red, and you commie Red, that's what you commies do. And I didn't like you when I first met you and all this shit. They get to the end. They rescue the girl. He's going to kill her. Doesn't do it. They get her to a hospital. They manage to cure all the people that she's touched. But she dies. And Red Star is coming out, and Kid Flash is like, oh, are you proud of yourself? He's like, are they going to give you a medal in Red Square? He goes, no, Kid Flash. Because Ariana was my fiance to be married today. I just wanted to end her misery, and walks away. And Kid Flash looks like a fucking dick.
Yeah.
It's a powerful fucking issue.
Yeah. No, that's another thing that I'd forgotten. But yeah, just little cool touches like that. Basically by issue 20, they, Wolfman and Perez were really just in their zone, like totally in the peak almost here. And with each issue being very memorable for the next, 20 plus issues, basically. Because right after this, number 21, you have the first appearance of Brother Blood.
Yes. Oh, that would be the issue that has the night.
Yep. The Night Force.
Night Force. Ugh.
Yeah, which was Wolfman and Gene Colan. Which was a reteaming of the Tomb of Dracula creative team from Marvel in the 70s.
Yeah, this was the failure of the let's put a. It's basically, it was the idea, in the 70s and early 80s when you watch a sitcom and suddenly there's an episode that's about a bunch of other people who are tangentially connected to the people you normally watch. Yeah. Those kinds of sitcoms, they call it a backdoor pilot. Yeah. That's what these were. And Night Force was not good.
No, I don't think it lasted too long. But anyway, the main feature was the debut of Brother Blood in the Church of Brother Blood.
Oof.
Which, this would be a reoccurring character over the years. Johnny, you're quite fond of Brother Blood?
Brother Blood freaked me out because it's a cult in some country in Europe, the made-up country, like Moldavia or something like that.
Yeah.
And which is where the Doom Patrol thing was happening. Maybe it was South America then.
Yeah, I think so.
And the Doom Patrol bad guys were going after this poor innocent bunch of cultists. That's the connection. And Brother Blood is supposedly immortal, and he's the leader of this church, and he's got this cool outfit with a skull mask.
Mm-hmm.
And if you leave the cult, you're going to be killed. But Cyborg's girlfriend, who right around the same time they put out that 4-issue miniseries we're talking about, they'd introduce her. Remember right after, but they introduced her in that, and she's in this cult, has escaped the cult, and is killed.
That's right.
And sends a letter to Cyborg, and he's like, okay, I'm going to go fuck somebody up right now. And they go down, they investigate. And the problem is, Brother Blood does have all kinds of fucking cool powers and shit, but is he a charlatan or not? He has cultists who believe him, and he's got a woman in the media named Bethany Snow, who's supposed to be Barbara Walters.
Right.
You look at how she's drawn, who is all about him and alters shit in the media.
Yep, that's right.
And they go down to get revenge for Cyborg's girlfriend. They end up looking bad at the end of it. It's like that these superheroes went and attacked this perfectly innocent religious organization, and they don't win.
Yeah,
that one. They come off looking like assholes.
Yeah,
but Brother Blood apparently dies, but that he's resurrected. It's always in lava and shit, and it's lava that's supposed to be blood.
Yeah,
I never read any payoff as to who he actually is or what his origin was. To me, it's always Brother Blood was just this fucked up weird character, and who they could never actually win against.
That's true.
Even when they won, he like, I will rise again, my children, and then shit. And, it could have been played really, really awful, but it was really, really scary the way they did it, because they know this whole thing where the Titans know this guy is a villain, and these are tricks. We might not know how he does them, but they're tricks, and he's involved in all kinds of bad shit. But every time they fuck with him, or he fucks with them, they come off looking terrible. And it was really, really good stuff.
Yeah, and that's definitely something, a big part of New Teen Titans were these villains that were more dangerous than your average supervillain.
Oh yeah,
that came before, like Trigon, like the Terminator, like now Brother Blood. That you couldn't, they usually weren't defeated.
Or drugs too.
Yes, yeah, exactly. We're coming up to that, but the Brother Blood character, another complicated personality with that just wasn't someone you just threw in prison at the end and called it a day.
And the character design of his outfit was just fucking cool.
Yeah.
I'm sure if someone looked at it now, they might go, yeah, it's okay, because you're used to that shit now.
Yeah.
Back then, this was something new.
Yeah, it was different. It was the evolution of the supervillain for sure. And with the whole cult thing. And I forgot about the Bethany Snow character, how she's basically has this crusade to badmouth the Titans, and then she would keep appearing and would have the panels that Perez would draw like a TV screen, right, with her face coming from the TV, and they would be dispersed throughout, and it'd be a reoccurring part of the comics from here on.
She was the Fox News of
you
see.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, another such an interesting touch, and another thing that would evolve throughout the comics, throughout the stories. Okay, so then there was a big storyline culminating, I guess, with the first annual, I think it was.
The cosmic storyline.
Yeah, with Starfire and her sister.
Yes, Blackfire.
Blackfire. And them, the Titans going into space, and then that was about 3 issues plus the annual.
It was more than 3. They it also didn't introduce, but it established the Omega Men.
Oh, that's right. Wow. Yeah.
Because the Omega Men had first appeared in, I think, in a Green Lantern.
Yeah.
And then they were like in the Superman team-up book, and they worked that into the Titans because the villains that the Omega Men fought were the same people who had enslaved Starfire.
Right.
And they did this huge cosmic arc.
Yeah.
That worked. That was the craziest thing about it. I mean, he's like, it's Teen Titans Robin. And he's on another planet, and he's like kicking ass,
right?
Which also led to them having to deal with that they have to kill, because there was times where they were killing the Gordanians while they were fighting. But it was all about Starfire getting revenge on her sister, Blackfire.
Yeah, and that paid off, the original story of her coming to Earth and all that.
Her sister sold her into slavery.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So that's one of the long-term storylines that took, a good 2 years to see brought to a conclusion. Yeah.
Which then, and they do this huge cosmic storyline, and the next thing they do is the most down-to-earth storyline. 2 issues about drugs.
Yep.
About coke, where the Titans are involved in trying to bring down coke dealers, the mob, and there's another recurring character who is the DA, Chase.
Yes,
his name is Chase, and he's got a tumultuous relationship with the Titans, especially Robin, but he likes them. And they're trying to bring down these drug dealers. They do this 2-issue, which you would normally call a very special.
Yes.
But it is brutal. It's with the depiction of teenage prostitution, drugs, and the mob and murder, and it is fucking brutal.
Yeah,
it could scare you off of fucking want to do drugs. And this was at the height of the cocaine era in the 80s. And that depiction of Times Square being just full of drug dealers and pimps and underage prostitutes, that's what New York was like back then. Trust me. Yeah. It was a real depiction, and it was really like they had like one of the girls who was involved in this drug trade is a teenage prostitute. Who at one point is pregnant, and he draws her as, trying to hustle on the streets, but with a belly, I hate saying bump, but yeah, with a belly bump. There's some brutal fucking shit in this. Amazing story. Amazing. At one point, the big payoff is Cyborg just picks up one of the drug dealer, the mob guys, and punches him so hard that he goes to like 3 fucking train cars. and you're like going, yeah, motherfucker, he's dead. And I think they made a point going, Cyborg, you almost crippled that guy.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah. It was the Runaways storyline.
Yeah, it was about runaways and drugs.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. A very part of the time, the early 80s.
That's right, because it said about the 3 runaways.
Yeah,
there was 3 of them. There was the one kid who gets killed, and his brother is trying to get revenge, and then there's the teenage prostitute who's pregnant, and then there's the other kid. I think he was gay, or maybe or something, and because at the end they do a where are they now sort of thing, and that kid or one of them goes back home and is still rejected.
Right.
Like the one kid goes home and his parents hug him. The other one, his parents hug him. The other kid goes home and goes, "Oh, it's the girl." He's like, "Get out of my fucking house, you whore!" And it was and now a lot of people who read comic books now go, "Well, so what? What makes that different than any other comic book?" They didn't do this shit back then.
No, not at all. I mean, we've discussed the relevant comics of the late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah, which were laughable. This was scary.
Yeah, this was darker. Just like comics had become darker at the time. I think at the same time there was a Daredevil storyline with the Punisher.
Yeah.
That had to do with drugs in high school. That was quite dark.
It was dark, but it was nowhere near as good as this.
Yeah, nowhere near as good. Yeah, and this got a lot of attention, I think, for the comic because they did do anti-drug, these special anti-drug issues.
Special.
Yeah, with a letter from First Lady Nancy Reagan.
Yes, these were special standalone.
Yeah,
they were not drawn by George Perez.
No.
I don't know if Marv Wolfman wrote them, but
probably not.
There was there's a bunch of these that came out at this time. Marvel did feel like I think Captain America fought pollution, but they introduced they have Speedy in it because Speedy had already been, Speedy's a junkie or an ex-junkie.
Yeah.
And they do this, but they couldn't use Robin.
No.
Do you remember that? They couldn't use Robin for some reason. So they made up some character to be Robin. And
it was the Protector.
The Protector, that's
with
right.
a horrible purple and red costume that was kind of similar to the Earth 2 Robin's costume in as far as like the length of it. Yeah, it was horrible.
For whatever copyright reason, they couldn't use Robin.
Yeah, I think so. There was some weird copyright issue or something.
Protector.
Yeah, the Protector. I think they even went so far as they were going to do a cartoon of the Titans at the time, and it got to the planning stages, and the Protector character was going to be in it too. I've seen like stills of it.
That's right. No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. So I guess maybe it was something to do with Robin not being available, but so those issues it spawned from this storyline where actually Speedy was in the Runaways storyline.
Yes.
This was actually bringing him back, I think, after the early 70s Green Lantern, Green Arrow stories where he was revealed famously to be a heroin addict, sort of out of the blue, and with the famous cover of him shooting up. And he sort of
where Green Lantern, instead of stopping Speedy, shooting up,
points it out.
He looks at Green Arrow and goes, "See, oh, you have all the answers. Well, what's this?
Yeah,
how about using your fucking ring, dummy?"
Your 5-alarm chili isn't going to solve the problem, Ollie.
Your liberal, you and your liberal goatee aren't solving this, dummy.
So because they reintroduce Speedy, who's now basically like an agent for the government, or specializing in drug-related cases, right? And
which makes sense. It's
exactly, totally. It's a total evolution of his character. And so he's brought back, and of course he was a member of the Teen Titans in the 60s, and he would have now from this point forward be kind of a reoccurring character.
Yeah, every now and then, but they even do the thing like, "Hey man, you can join us if you want," and he's like, "Nah."
Yeah. Nah. And another thing about the Runaways storyline is that in issue 26, a character is introduced that would be very important for the future, and that's the Terra character, who is at first, I believe, she robbing a bank or something. Anyways, the Changeling is the one who happens upon her. I remember that much.
Right, and he's like
immediately smitten by her.
Yeah, he's smitten by her, and she's apparently 12. By the way,
she's quite young.
And she keeps saying, "she's like, you don't understand. I gotta, get away from me. I gotta do this." And
right. Yeah, she's doing it because she's being blackmailed.
Well, eventually they reveal that Terra is being held by, being blackmailed by like Russian mobsters.
Yes.
Who are gonna kill her parents in Moldavia? Is that it?
Something like that. I think that sounds right. Yes.
And she has to do what they say, and they get to that, and that's how they introduce Terra.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's Russian. Her brother.
Although she talks like she's from the Bronx.
Yeah, basically, yeah. They don't go with that like the cliched comic book accent or anything.
Yeah, it is funny because they do. Right around this time, they introduced the book Batman and the Outsiders.
Yes,
which is a character named Geoforce, who has very similar powers and a very similar costume.
Yep.
And they are supposed to be from the Russian area.
Yeah.
And but Terra, if you read the word balloons, is talking like a chick from Brooklyn from a 50s movie.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, these fucking Titans, fuck 'em.
Exactly. Yeah, she's totally a rebel. Yeah, she's got a rough around the edges character. Yeah, so her brother is Geoforce.
And attractive, too.
Yeah.
When you're a little kid, or a kid my age reading this,
Yeah.
Tara not only wins over Changeling, kind of wins you over, too.
Yeah.
The way they write her as this, she keeps fucking up. Is she going to be a member of the team?
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of make her a member of the team, but they won't trust her completely. Raven the whole time was like, I don't trust this bitch.
Yeah.
And they're all like, well, you're nuts, daughter of Trigon. and what do you know? And she says that maybe it's just my Trigon side,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't and they have like where Tara will go up to her and he's like, I know you don't trust me, witch.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas that Tara knows that, Raven knows that something's not fucking right with this.
Yeah. Yeah. She was, she looked a lot like a girl that I liked in the second grade, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the same haircut, the short blonde hair.
She had the buck teeth?
Yeah, well, no, I don't think so.
That was a neat little thing they did.
Yeah.
She wasn't just like totally cute.
Exactly.
Perez drew that she kind of had buck teeth.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, by this time, this is when I was really into the Titans, as far as I remember. Most of these issues was when Tara came around, and she joins the team in issue 30. But the Titans won't reveal their secret identities to her.
Right.
Yet. And she's pestering them, sort of guilting them into it, saying, well, don't you trust me and all this. And they debate it, behind the scenes, should we tell her this and that. And now we're building towards some pretty heavy stuff here.
Yeah.
So Tara's the first new member they've had, basically, since the beginning. And we've established, the Hive. We've established the Terminator character and this contract he has to eliminate the Titans. And so, Tara, like Johnny said, is, kind of this bad girl. Raven doesn't trust her. She was originally kind of a villain. And now we get to issue number 34, which is, one of the landmark comics of the time, I would say.
Right now, it was because the one where they do reveal their identities to her finally is the one where Kid Flash quits because his speed is killing him.
Yeah.
And Robin doesn't quit, but he gets rid of the Robin outfit.
Yeah.
It's got that great cover. It's all white.
Yeah.
And in the distance is just the backs of Dick Grayson and Wally West walking away with their costumes down.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they finally had, revealed it to her. They trust her. Robin says, look, I'm still here. I'm going to be your leader, but I don't know what the fuck I'm going to wear.
Yeah.
In fact, I think at first he's just like kind of, like elsewhere, a black suit.
Yeah, he says he's given up being Robin, but he's not sure who or what he's going to do next, which is kind of interesting. We're getting into an era where there's a lot of changes, a lot of the long-term stories are, start to get, brought to the forefront.
And George Perez's art is never as awesome as it was at this point. There's that great splash page. I think it maybe is in 34. That just is a 2-page splash page of the Titans just bursting into some headquarters of something.
Mm-hmm.
And the not word balloons, back in the day where we had exposition boxes.
Yeah.
And it just said, sometimes they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. And then the corner says, this is one of them. And it's just this amazing shot of the Titans, invading into, like I said, some headquarters. And it's fucking cool as hell.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's things were just, everything was coming together. Basically, from, like I said earlier, I mean, issue 20, probably slightly earlier, things had really started to become like the classic era for this comic, and now we're getting to where it was just each issue was amazing.
Oh, you couldn't wait, and
yeah,
there were a couple of issues where maybe George Perez had to take a break and someone else would do the art and be or standalone, and even if they were good, they were disappointing because you wanted that.
Yeah,
they did a standalone one with Cyborg and Changeling in a hostage situation.
Oh, that's right.
Keith Pollard did the art. Keith Pollard's one of the greatest.
Right.
I remember being like,
because it was right after the big bombshells, I think, of issue 34. Yeah, it was. Yeah, here it is. Siege. And so yeah, exactly. Right after that. But anyway, the big bombshell we've been alluding to is at the end of issue 34, you have this scene where Tara is revealed to be working for the Terminator.
Yes.
As a double agent, and has always been.
Always been. And it is creepy.
Yes.
Because when they reveal this, Terminator is in a bathrobe, but a very short one.
Yes.
You know? And Tara comes out on the veranda, and she's in a robe as well with a lot of like horror makeup on.
Yep.
Just like tons of horror makeup, smoking a cigarette.
Smoking, yeah.
And she's like, they're fucking soft. And he's like, don't take them lightly. The insinuation is that Terminator is fucking her.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, and
pretty
she's
blatant.
supposed to be 14 tops.
Yeah.
And I say, good for you.
Yeah, it's pretty. As a moment, it's totally like, this isn't your old fashioned superhero comic book anymore. This is.
Yeah, but it was so well done because the hints are all there. That you should trust her, but you wanted to.
Yep. You totally wanted to, and because the most lovable character, Changeling, was in love with her, so that gave her like the stamp of approval in a lot of ways, right? And
the only character who does it is Raven, and they've established over the course of this book that Raven might not be the most perceptive person.
Yeah, exactly. And had they established Tara as smoking before this? I can't remember.
No.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember if that was something like a touch that they'd introduced earlier.
Oh, no. Starfire never caught Tara like hiding behind Titan's Tower. Oh, no. It was those mobsters. They taught me this. It's a hard habit to kick.
But it was a nice little touch because she's the bad girl, and the bad girl's the one who smokes. So
of course,
so that's revealed. Like, and it's not done in a way that's like super dramatic or anything. It's very casual.
Yeah,
it just right at the very end. Just like a matter of fact that here it is. This is happening. The art isn't done in a way that's any different. It's just there it is, and it was at the time, it must have been a huge shock.
And they don't immediately go into the payoff of this. There's more issues where now that Tara is a spy, but she has to go on adventures with them and protect them and protect herself. Mm-hmm. Because they have to fight Brother Blood again.
Yep, that comes up. I think right after the reveal issue, they have the second annual with Adrian.
Oh, the Vigilante stuff.
Adrian Chase becoming the Vigilante. I think that followed right after that.
Which also introduced. I don't know if it introduced, but. It was the first time I remember seeing the Monitor, which is going to be a major...
Right. I think the Monitor actually... I think issue 21 is actually the first hint That far back, I think.
Yeah, it's in. It might be even some obscure book when they first.
Yeah, I seem to think that was the first, and there was hints in Green Lantern
Yeah,
too, because Marv Wolfman was writing that at the same time.
but there was the mobsters I'd call the Monitor for help.
Yeah, it
and,
became more and more obvious over the years.
But yeah, it's boy. There's about that book. Basically, Chase, the DA, they do a one book where the mob murders his family with a bomb.
Right.
It leads right into Annual 2, which has the coolest one page that I ever remember seeing. It's where basically he becomes the new vigilante, and he's basically the Punisher.
Yep.
With a really cool look. At the end of it, there's one page with all the panels, and you see this weird coloration going over the panels. And if you pull the book away from you and look, you see it's the Vigilante's mask over that page.
Right.
And it took me like 3 readings to see it. It was like one of those from the early 90s. Those, like, you look at the picture and, if you concentrate, you could see a sailboat, that kind of thing. It was like that. It was like, as soon as you see it, you go, holy fuck. That was really good. That was some dark shit too, because they killed kids.
Yeah. The cover is also one of the best of that era.
Oh, it's a great cover.
Yeah,
they also introduced Cheshire.
That's right. Yeah, and she'd be a reoccurring character, and Vigilante would get his own book.
Of course,
I think directly from this. This was like
which was one of those only sold at comic book shops, and it wasn't good.
I've never heard anyone ever talk of it.
I read the first 3 issues, and it was not good at all. It stunk.
But yeah, I mean, that's it was another character that, the Adrian Chase character had been introduced well before this, and had slowly, become more and more frustrated with the whole justice system, and so he finally snaps and basically becomes a vigilante. And that was a very memorable annual. And the annuals then were basically like, these double-sized issues that...
Yeah, most DC books, the annual was a standalone.
Yeah, that's...
Teen Titans and Legion of Superheroes made them be a major part of the storylines.
Yeah, I think there was a few. I think All-Star Squadron had a
yes.
Yeah, and Swamp Thing also, I think it was the second annual, was the payoff to a year's worth of stories.
The first Teen Titans annual was the conclusion to the cosmic story.
Yeah. So they basically were, the blow-offs to a lot of long-term stories. Very cool. And so that comes at this time too, where all this other stuff's going down. And then another big issue at this time is number 38, which is the Who is Donna Troy issue. And Donna Troy being Wonder Girl, someone we haven't talked about a lot so far. Basically, her story, which is another one that had been, bubbling for the whole, run of this series, was her mysterious past and not knowing, who she was. And she's also been with this character named Terry Long for the whole run so far, pretty much. Who is what did he do? He's not a superhero. He's just a regular guy, photographer, right? With a blonde perm and a beard.
He looks like if any of you bought the big GI Joes from the early 70s, there was a redheaded one with a red perm and a red beard, and that's what Terry Long looked like.
Yeah,
because Princess Coriander became a model, and he was a photographer, and that's how he met Donna.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, that's coming back to me now. He was a controversial character. He was kind of I don't know, a modern, sensitive man, I guess you could say.
Oh, he was Alan Alda all the way.
Yeah. A lot of people have said that. Oh no, I guess he was redheaded, not blonde. I'm thinking.
Yeah, he was redheaded.
Yeah, red. Yeah, I was thinking of Jericho later.
Same haircut.
Same exact hair. I know I've seen a lot of critiques say that he was basically a stand-in for Marv Wolfman himself.
Of course.
Yeah. So he gets Wonder Girl, and is this?
It's like Chris Claremont being all mad that some writer had Kitty Pryde lose her virginity, and he's like, "I'm the only one who's allowed to write that." They're like, "Oh, okay."
So controversial in that sense that he's the living representation of the.
Oh, he was also a college professor, I believe.
Yeah, I thought he had some sort of academic side to him, wearing tweed blazers with patches on the elbows.
The patches on the elbows. That's right. Yeah, he'd show up in his class and and look at all the students who are the same age as she is.
Yeah, so he's definitely older.
Divorced.
Divorced.
Because they do a whole
kids?
thing with where they have to deal with his ex-wife and shit, and
right.
and she's making comments about him marrying this young girl.
It's all very interesting. And so with 38, this is basically a standalone issue as well.
So good. It's so good.
Yeah, it was included in that year's Best of DC Digest comic. It's one of the most talked about stories they ever did.
Yes. So basically, it's the only thing you know about the origin of Wonder Girl is that as a baby, she was in a building in a fire. Wonder Woman rescues her. She has no parents. She takes her to Paradise Island. They raise her as an Amazon. That's her origin. She wants Robin to figure out, where she comes from, because he is a detective, and he was trained by the world's greatest detective, Batman. And it's a one-issue story that's a fucking mystery story, or a breakdown of where they always show that certain characters, like, hey, they're great detectives, but they don't ever actually show any detective skills. This is Robin being a detective. And it's all about finding little clues and searching areas and putting together and figuring out where she came from.
Right.
And it's his wedding present to one of his oldest friends, someone that he says, I could have, been in love with you. We were just friends. And this is my present to you. And he's even wearing a trench coat.
Yeah.
While he's investigating this. It's one of the most well-written and emotional standalone comics I've ever seen. I remember when I got that, I read it, I cried, because at the end it's a tearjerker of joy. And also as a fan of storytelling within this one issue, it just like you're breaking down this detective investigation with Robin.
Yeah.
And it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's like a movie. It's
it really is.
Yeah, and it was probably clearly influenced by a lot of old, detective movies.
All you did was with a Bogart accent.
Yeah, basically it was Dick Grayson doing Bogey. It's very.
I'll tell you, Wonder Girl. I'll look into it for you, doll.
Yeah, it's a great. It's like Robin doing Batman better than Batman.
Exactly.
One of the Dick Grayson character's finest moments.
I think so. And I know they undid it with all kinds of wacky shit over the years. But, I didn't read those. I refused
neither
to.
did I.
Fuck them, because this was so good.
Yeah. Oh, totally. This, maybe I'll do like a required reading list to post when we post this, and that definitely is one that needs to be read, and it's one that can be enjoyed without knowing the whole story of the Titans going into it, or because it works totally as a standalone issue. It's just a great story of someone finally discovering their past. So it's really cool.
Done by their best friend, and it's that's, like I said earlier, the sense of about these people being friends, it just comes through so well in Titans. These books.
Yeah, it's. Because when all these, it's when all these long-term storylines start to pay off that the book is just amazing. Because everything had been built up for so long that when they finally address these issues, they mean something. They're really important.
I'll never forget the cover of that, because it's a burnt building.
Yeah.
Being the building where they found her.
Yeah.
And but in the background is a shadowy Robin in the trench coat.
Yeah.
It just says, "Who is Donna Troy?" And it's like I said, I remember reading that and my mouth dropped. I was like, "This." Yeah. This was one of those times I'm like, "Oh, you read comic books? They're stupid." I'd be like, "Yeah, you read this, dummy."
Yeah. This was when DC started to really pump out a lot of really powerful comic books. The Swamp Thing, Alan Moore run begins around this point.
Yeah, and Ambush Bug starts becoming one of the funniest things you've ever seen. They start running with the Ambush Bug character.
Yeah, that's one I've never read. I'm totally aware of it. That was a big. That was a miniseries.
Yeah. It was a bunch, but
that's right.
So DC really started getting smart.
Yeah. No, they really did become the hardcore fans' choice at this point, where Marvel was the kids' choice, basically, in a lot of ways. Okay, so one thing that hasn't been covered yet is we talked about, of course, the X-Men and the inspiration on the New Teen Titans that they had, and at the same time they were. I mean, at this time, these two books, X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, New Teen Titans, were basically, I think, 1 and 2 in sales. It was close. They were, both hugely popular. And so, around 1982, it was finally decided that they were going to do a team-up issue of the X-Men and the New Teen Titans, like a standalone issue. And before this, there had been, like a Spider-Man and Superman in about 1976.
Yes, and a follow-up.
And then a Batman Hulk.
Yes.
And a sequel to Superman and Spider-Man.
I had all three. They were giant, those giant...
very big ones, but other than that, I don't think there had been a team-up since.
Actually, the first one they ever did was a comic book production, production of The Wizard of Oz.
That's right. That's really
which
obscure there.
Don't know how that worked. Neither of them had rights to the characters. So.
Yeah, I know. That's true. That was the first team-up of DC and Marvel, and it was for a joint Wizard of Oz adaptation. Yeah. That's weird.
But yeah, the Teen Titans X-Men book was one of those examples of it not waiting until something was dead before you do it. These two books were at their height for both companies, the top books, and they did a team up, and they did, and they didn't fuck it up, and they went full on with the goddamn villains in this book too. I mean, who did the art in that?
It was Walt Simonson.
It was Walt Simonson. Yeah, Walt Simonson just I don't remember who wrote it, but Simonson did a great job.
I think Chris Claremont wrote it, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, but number one is in this, they established they're in the same universe. Because at one point, Cyborg is swinging by a demolished building that had been demolished in an issue of X-Men. And he goes, I wonder why we've never run into those mutants. And I was like, oh, that's neat. And of course, they team up. They fight at first, and then they team up because that's what happens in comics. But you had Deathstroke the Terminator, who is working for Darkseid.
Right.
Who is trying to resurrect Dark Phoenix.
Yes.
So this is Dark Phoenix and Darkseid against Teen Titans and X-Men. And it's great. It's great. It's not really, it's the essence of, because Jean Grey is dead, motherfucker. At this
That's
time.
right.
Yeah. It's just the essence. Jean Grey is dead. Back when dead meant dead. But it was just amazingly well done. A huge event. And the fact that they even made it happen was incredible. Because I think right after that, they tried to do their Justice League Avengers. That I think Perez drew maybe a few pages.
No, I think actually it was something like half.
Was it half?
Or more than half. It was quite a bit, actually.
And then everything fell apart.
I don't know the whole story, but it was politics behind the scenes, and
I just think it's amazing that they actually put their shit aside. To realize, you know what'll sell a lot of fucking books? This.
Exactly. Well,
and they didn't fuck it up. It was a great story because I had all those other team ups. The Spider-Man, Superman one. I got that when I was 6, and I loved it at the time. But if you go back and read it, it's not good. And, except for, I think at one point, Dr. Doom is gonna destroy the Earth, and Luthor's like, my sister's there. Then the Batman Hulk one is just weird. It's not bad. It's the Joker teams up with the Shaper of Worlds.
Really?
And it's really weird, but not bad. But it's weird.
Right.
And then the second Superman Spider-Man was they bring in the Hulk and Wonder Woman, and it's Dr. Octopus and the Parasite, and Dr. Doom kind of like makes an appearance to. Oh wait, the first one it was Dr. Doom. It was Dr. Octopus.
Okay.
And Luthor is gonna like destroy the world, and Doc Ock is just like, what are you nuts? And they fight.
Yeah, see, I've seen the insides of those ones, but I've never read them. And the Hulk Batman one, I've never seen, other than the cover, I guess.
Oh yeah, it's weird.
Yeah,
it's fucking weird. It plays on the Hulk. Bruce Banner just happens to stumble into Gotham City now.
Right.
And Bruce Wayne knows who he is, but he's cool about it and enlists him to work at Wayne Technologies. And hijinks ensue, basically. Good art. It's great fucking art. But anyway.
Yeah, anyway. I mean, the X-Men New Teen Titans team up was... Yeah, maybe probably the best of them all.
It was the best of them all until they did Avengers JLA.
Yeah.
The one they eventually did do.
Yeah.
The 4-issue miniseries, which drawn by George Perez.
Yep. Yeah. That came out, 2003, 4?
2003 or 4.
Yeah, it was a long time coming, that one, that's for sure.
It was so good. It had the 4th issue had that amazing cover with a tattered Superman, beaten and bloodied, and in one hand he has Captain America's shield. Now, granted, it's the energy shield they were using at the time, but it's still Captain America's shield, right. And Thor's hammer in the other. And that's the shot they went with.
Yeah.
No Marvel character on the cover.
No.
But they knew they didn't have to.
Yeah.
Because Thor's hammer and Captain America's shield represent that.
Yeah.
And Superman's holding them all beaten up like, no, you want to fuck with this? And that was a great story.
Yeah. Yeah, I have all those ones too.
Real quick, especially because Batman beats the shit out of the Punisher off panel. Okay? Fuck you, Punisher fans. He's a villain. And
Yeah.
Batman kicked his ass off panel.
Yeah, that's great stuff. So yeah, that was, one of the peaks of the era was the team up book. And now we get to basically the peak of the New Teen Titans. This is, a huge storyline that pays off basically everything that had been building for the entirety of the series up to this point. It's the Judas contract storyline. It's one of the most remembered of the era, for sure. At the time it happened, I can remember it being, considered, the greatest thing ever, almost in comics. It was praised.
It was, you know why? Because it was.
Yeah, it was heavily praised. I just had the annual. I didn't have the other issues.
Oh, the build-up.
Yeah, at the time, but later, of course, I got them all. But at the time, I just had the annual, which had that cover that was just so striking, with, Changeling confronting Terra, basically.
Why?
Why? Yeah, with the look of like,
so
why
good.
did you betray us?
And what a weird cover to go with for the big.
That's
instead
right.
of going with a big battle scene,
Yeah,
they show like the middle of a battle scene. The Titans up in the right corner.
yeah.
Changeling in the middle, going why at Terra, and behind her is a bunch of rubble, and it's like what a strange choice, but it works.
Yeah. Oh, it totally. It did that one. It just grabbed me. It's like it's such a famous cover, because it's unusual. It's not your typical superhero cover,
Right.
and yeah. So anyway, it started in issue 42, and by this time, New Teen Titans had actually become Tales of the Teen Titans, and a new Teen Titans.
Oh, really? Was it by then? Are you sure?
It is, yeah, because number 41 was actually the first book with the Tales of the Teen Titans as the new title. It changed, and they brought in the new Teen Titans Baxter paper, comic book shop only.
Right. I just
comics.
didn't think it was that. Wow, I didn't think it was at the same time.
Yeah, it had happened right at that moment, basically. It's not really looked back as that way, but it did. Yeah, the title change did happen. But anyway, it was the same book, same creative team, but they were now doing two books like that. Like the popularity of the series was that big. At this time, not a lot of comics had two books. I mean, the X-Men didn't even have two books at the time.
DC did this with their two hottest books. It was this and Legion.
And Legion, that's right. Same exact time. With the comic shop only version.
The Legion ones were better, I'll tell you.
Yeah. So number 42 is the first part of the Judas contract. And basically it hits you with a bang. Basically, they finally decided to reveal their identities to Terra, and unbeknownst to the Titans, Terra is now basically hooked up for video through her contact lens. Is that how it works? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
So she's filming everything that's going on. And the first part of the Judas contract is called The Eyes of Terra Markov.
That's right. That's right.
Because each part has its own title to it. Part 1, The Eyes of Terra Markov. Part 2, I think, is Betrayal. And then part 3 is like a Titan Rises or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Because you get the new character of Jericho, plus you get
Nightwing.
Dick Grayson finally taking on the Nightwing character.
Which also is a great, and they mentioned it in the story, but it's a great reference to some crazy Silver Age DC shit.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
basically, well, no, we'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Yeah,
We'll explain it then.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, this was a 4-part story, with the 4th part being the 3rd annual, double-sized issue to finish it all off. And it begins, with basically it's revealed that, well, the Titans reveal their identities to Terra, and it's all filmed, so everyone knows it. The Hive know it. Terminator knows it. And also, I believe Terra finally kisses Changeling for the first time. Which, what perfectly timed in the story.
They were on the floating thing that takes them to and from the island, and she finally kisses them.
Yeah. So that's the first issue, and then the second issue is where, the Titans are all attacked in their secret identities, right? Because it's now known who they are.
And they all get fucked except...
who is the only one to get out?
Robin.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
The guy with no powers, but who was trained by fucking Batman, is the one who gets away.
Right. Because then he is in charge of saving them, rescuing them.
Right, but they make that point, too, where it's like, well, he's the one with no powers. We'll get him eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not if you're trained by the fucking Batman.
Yeah, exactly. And then we have a new character introduced.
Jericho.
Character of Jericho, who has one of the more unique looks, that's for sure, for a superhero ever. Blonde perm and sideburns. Nice.
Big blonde sideburns.
Big mutton chops. Blonde mutton chopped sideburns. He's mute.
Yep.
He can't speak.
He's wearing this very 80s.
Yeah.
It's like armor / I'm in a production of a Roman tragedy. So you got to see it.
Yeah,
let me tell you this. At the time, it looked cool. I will say.
Yeah. I guess maybe. I remember it, of course, as a kid. I wasn't really thinking about such things, but later on, looking back at it, it was a look that dated very quickly, basically. But yeah, he's also the son of the Terminator,
right? Which
adds another wrinkle to the whole story. I can't remember the origin.
Okay. Well, I do. They do it in that issue, is where Robin goes back to Titan's Towers. Everything's fucked. The Terminator has captured everybody. They're at the Hive. He doesn't know what to do. And this woman shows up with this dude with his perm. And she's the Terminator's ex-wife. And that's the Terminator's son, Jericho. Mm-hmm. And she explains to Robin the whole origin, and they do the whole origin of the Terminator.
Right.
That he was given these powers, the whole thing with him in Vietnam and his butler, but he becomes a mercenary. At one point, these other people have his son with a knife at his throat, and he makes the wrong fucking choice, and they cut the throat, and he kills the dude, but they sliced his... because he wouldn't give up some information, because he honors his contracts. He has to honor his contracts, and it cost his son his voice. And the wife leaves him, and da-da-da. Well, Jericho is a mutant. They can't use that word.
No.
But he's a mutant because of the experiments done to his father, and he can become nothing and enter you and take over your body. Like a spirit.
That's right. Yes.
And takes everybody, and that's how he can talk to people too.
Yeah.
He's kind of like Dead Man with a bad outfit.
Yes.
Basically. And but the origin story is awesome because you feel for the Terminator. It makes you not like him, but you're like, wow, okay, I get this character. It's cool shit. They explain where he came up with the costume first, was rescuing Wintergreen, who became his butler in Vietnam from a tiger cage from the Vietnamese, and all this cool shit. And now they're gonna team up and go rescue the Titans in the annual.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so they storm the compound in some mountain region somewhere.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, that's the annual number 3. And
Which also, there was a team up they did. An issue where they teamed up with Batman and the Outsiders. Where they did this great, both issues had the covers you could put together into one big picture. But one was drawn by Jim Aparo and one was drawn by George Perez, but they fit together perfectly.
Right.
And that was when Robin got Batman's respect. And Tara meets her brother. And he's like, oh, I thought you were dead. And she's like, well. And it's all really, yeah.
Yeah. No, Batman and the Outsiders is one I definitely followed a lot. I've always been a big fan of Jim Aparo's art. He's really cool.
Well, it's so funny, not to go off on another tangent, but everyone was, called Jim Aparo like, Neil Adams light.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? Fuck Neil Adams. Jim Aparo has far more great work under his belt than fucking Neil Adams does.
Oh, totally. I mean, Neil Adams was sort of like a big explosion in the late 60s, and then he kind of just went away.
A really cool, groovy dude, but Jim Aparo is the man.
Yeah, he had a long stint on Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man in the 70s that I really liked, and a long time on Batman too. So yeah, we get to the final of this storyline, Annual 3, and it's a pretty emotional climax with Tara. You'd think, in traditional storytelling, maybe she would, see the error of her ways or whatever, but that doesn't really happen.
No, the Teen Titans get, they go in, they save them, they beat the shit out of the Hive. The Terminator is holding his own, but Tara goes insane, and they've always hinted that she is unhinged.
Yeah,
and she goes insane to where even the Terminator is like, oh, "Fuck, I gotta get out of here."
Yeah,
and does, and where her powers go out of control, and she just kills herself basically by just going nuts, and all the Earth just hits her and shit.
Yeah,
which then leads into the funeral scene, where her brother is there, and the Titans lie.
Right.
They say she died a hero.
Yeah.
She died a hero.
Yeah, they give her a hero's funeral with the headstone. Yeah, and that's the final, basically, page of that story.
Yeah, and here's what I want to mention about why Judas Contract felt so big. You get into the 90s, the mid-90s, where event comics were a big thing. I don't know if they still do that. I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, they do. Yeah.
But everything is event comics. Event comics weren't that big of a thing back then. They only happened every now and then, especially to give them a title.
Yeah.
So the Judas Contract came up on these books, and you're like, wow, this is big. This is important. And it lived up to it. It was so fucking good and bittersweet.
Oh, totally.
Because the Hive gets away. The Terminator gets away.
Yeah. Tara's dead.
Tara is dead.
Changeling's heartbroken. Totally.
Changeling's fucked. It was amazingly written.
Yeah.
Amazingly written. Because there's so many beats that are like, yeah. But at the end, it's...
Yeah, but it was consistent with the story that Wolfman and Perez have been telling.
Yep.
Where there was always this bittersweet finish. Nothing ever really was, a total triumph for the Titans. They were always, there was just something that didn't go right in the end. And yeah, it was one of the few stories they collected and put out in a trade paperback back then. Like nowadays they do it for everything, but back then they didn't do it for very many stories, and they did put out a complete collection of that.
And it's funny because a lot of people it hasn't happened in a while, but a few years back it seemed like DC was taking every classic story and making an animated movie out of it.
Right.
And the one everyone will do fucking Judas Contract. And I was like, can they? Because there's so much to put in there.
Because it was built over like 4 years, basically.
There's so much to put in there.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it could be done, but they would have to have quite a bit of time to tell the story, you would think. Yeah, it's one of the great superhero comic stories ever, I would say, no doubt. Great stuff. It's just so great because it pays off, so many years of stories. It was such a long build to this that
and establishes a character that's a major character is Robin as Dick Grayson as Nightwing. And the nerdy thing I was talking about is that they do mention it in that issue where they introduce Jericho, where you see his inner dialogue about who he's going to be now, and he's putting this costume on. He's like, Bruce, I always wanted to honor you. Then he goes, Clark, you've always been an inspiration to me. Right. You realize this. And he's Nightwing. Now, in the 60s, they'd have these a few comics where they took place in the bottle city of Kandor. That was in Superman's Fortress of Solitude, which was a Kryptonian city that Brainiac had shrunk. And everyone lived in there. And Jimmy Olsen and Superman would go in there every now and then, and Superman had no powers in there because it was a red sun in the bottle. And they became the Batman and Robin of Kandor City. And named Nightwing and Flamebird.
That's right.
So they reference that when they use the night, because if someone went, hey, Nightwing's a great name. Fuck it, let's reference it. And I remember as a geek of old Silver Age stuff going, that is just one little sentence, and boy, that's so cool. That's so cool. And and let's face it, Nightwing became a major character. That was Robin. Dick Grayson, I mean. Forever. There was a lot of important stuff that happened in this story, besides being just a great fucking comic book.
Yeah, it was the natural evolution of the Robin character, basically. And, unlike his Earth 2 counterpart, he didn't have to wear long tights and stick with the same colors and names.
We need to put up in the thread the Nightwing costume as George Perez first debuts it, and the Earth 2 version of that was done in 1976, where it's Batman's costume with Robin's mask, but on the chest there's an R with a bat. It's the worst thing you ever saw.
I think he had a mustache too. If I'm not
no
mustache. Okay.
I remember it completely being like that. It made the composite Superman costume look understated.
That was one of the most awkward comic character designs ever. Here we are. We had the huge storyline, and it's kind of, the end in a lot of ways.
Pretty much, because what followed after was they did a big 3 or 4-parter with Aqualad. Where they fight the Hive underwater, and it wasn't good. It was boring. They reveal that the person behind the Hive is a woman.
That's right.
With curly hair, who's very like, oh my goodness. It's not good. They go back to the introduction of the characters Thunder and Lightning. Which is one of those one-shots they did. But then it gets to issue number 50, which is the wedding of Donna Troy and Terry. which is a wonderful, wonderful fucking book.
Mm-hmm.
And to me is how it all wraps up.
Basically,
to me, it's because no supervillain attacks the wedding.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's just a story about these people who are all superheroes and they're friends, and some of whom know and some don't, so they have to be careful at a wedding.
Yeah.
And the big thing is that Changeling's stepfather, Mento, has to project stuff out so people don't see that Cyborg is a cyborg and other shit.
Right.
And they get into that relationship. They get into Terry being approved by Queen Hippolyta in another dimensional room. But the fun stuff is like the Joker's daughter's there.
Right.
Shows up and Robin goes, you said you were so-and-so's daughter, but I did the research and that doesn't make any sense. She goes like, well, didn't say it did, and walks away. Lilith is there. Every character is Mal and
Mal
Bumblebee.
must be there. Yeah,
they're all there, and it's just a story about a wedding.
Yeah,
and we're Dick Grayson and Bruce Wayne in tuxedos are having a talk on a balcony just about how where life has taken them and where they are in their relationship, and it's a wonderful, wonderful book.
Yeah.
And to me, it's the bookend to this great era of what the new Teen Titans from DC Comics number 26 or 27, whatever it was,
26,
to issue 50 was encapsulated. Just one of the best runs of any comic book that's ever been done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very well said, Johnny. Yeah, and it was the end because that was the last issue Perez ever did. And at the same time, they had started the second book, and that same month was the last issue he did for that book, which was...
Oh, really?
Yeah, the 5th issue.
See, I only bought, because I couldn't get to a comic book shop all the time. I only bought the first two, and it's Raven Goes Bad.
Basically, yeah.
And it's a Trigon story.
5-part Trigon story.
Yeah.
That sort of ties up that long story from the beginning as well. It's been a long time since I read it. I mean, it was okay, I guess, but yeah.
I see. Like I said, I got the first two issues. I was like, wow, this is getting dark, and I couldn't get access.
Right.
To the other ones. At the same time, I was the same way with the Legion ones, but I somehow managed to get those, and those blew my mind because that had the whole Karate Kid death, which was one of the most amazing fucking death issues of any comic I've ever seen, and then even then that like Keith Giffen, who I loved, was getting too crazy, and I just again couldn't. I was done, and I could not be bothered to pay $2 for a Baxter comic book.
Yeah, and things were getting like increasingly dark in comics, and 1985 would be the year of the Crisis on Infinite Earths. That was a Wolfman and Perez comic.
That was amazing,
and I loved it. But that basically ended a long era of DC. The multiverse era, Earth 1, Earth 2, Earth 3, Earth X, Earth whatever.
Earth S.
There was Earth Prime,
Earth Prime, that's where we live.
Yeah, that's where until it became infested with superheroes too, and it was clearly not Earth. But I loved that stuff. Like I mean, when I was a kid, I loved the fact that there was 2 Supermans, 2 Batmans,
loved it.
2 Wonder Womans, etc., 2 Robins.
I liked Earth 2 better.
Yeah, me too. Because All-Star Squadron, our beloved All-Star.
No, even
Squadron.
before All-Star Squadron, I just had a thing. I'm like, Earth 2 is better because I like the weird Superman S.
Yes.
I like Golden Age Flash's helmet.
Yeah.
I was just like, Earth 2 is cool.
Yeah, it was. I loved it. And that Crisis on Infinite Earths basically erased it. And after that, I became pretty much a total Marvel fan, with, a few ventures into DC over the years. But a lot, Crisis sort of killed the DC I'd grown to love in a lot of ways. And I was too young to appreciate like the darker stories that came along and the Vertigo stuff that came along. I was too young to get into that.
Well, for me, Crisis happened just basically as I was just not into comics anymore as much as I was. I was a freshman in high school, and I was trying to get laid. And there were certain comics. I got into Judge Dredd, published by Eagle Comics here in America, and got into that for a bit. I stuck with X-Men here and there, with a few good stories here and there, but it was. But later on, when I was in college, just a couple of years later, I got introduced to Funny Justice League and fell in love with it. Bought all the back issues. Right. I found all the back issues of the John Byrne Superman reboots, and I got really into the. And Legends was the miniseries that set the table for the new DC universe. Yeah, and I was 18, 19, buying all these back issue for nothing. When I was in college, and I got really into DC again. I'm thinking like DC's fucking awesome. Like this is great stuff. Yeah. And didn't read a Marvel book. I think I remember picking up Inferno and being like, this doesn't make any fucking sense.
No, it didn't. It didn't at all.
I bought a lot of it, and I was like, oh.
Yeah. No, I was just, slightly younger to where, like I said, I was too young to really get into the more mature DC comics. I did years later when I matured, but at the time, but then even with the Marvel stuff, it definitely declined. And then we got into that whole horrible period where comic collecting, everybody was suddenly a comic book collector, and it was all about buying issue ones and the covers with all the gimmicks and gag blah horrible shit that would come out.
I mean, there was some great shit in that time too.
Yeah, but, there was great stuff. Exactly. But for me, it's never been the same since. Like the cohesion that Marvel had and the cohesion DC had, just that was what got me into comics in the first place. And so, like with wrestling, I've spent the rest of my life looking at the past basically and ignoring the present in a lot of ways.
Well, I'd like to say as we're wrapping up, and that what I think is great that we're talking about that I don't think a lot of people are is the magic of the old. Being able to find shit from 1965 at a flea market, being able to, go to the newsstand, go to the Hey Kids Comics rack, and pick out the books that you want based on how much money you had from your allowance. Yeah, and that, man. Or that first time you go to a comic book shop and you're like, oh my God!
I know, a whole store of comics. Yeah.
Back when back issues was a thing.
Yeah.
Where you could go through back issues and find stuff from 1963 in the back issue box. Yeah. There's a magic to this that you have to have lived through it to experience, I think, and hopefully we've expressed that to listeners here.
Yeah, and don't forget the smell of the old comic.
The smell. There was nothing better than getting old comic book from the 60s from a flea market or whatever, and opening up and going, smelling it. And it was that mixture of old newsprint and the staples. Yeah, the staples getting a little rusty. And it was just like,
the perfect smell.
Oh man, it was they ought to sell that.
Yeah, it should have been
to put on your car, window.
Calvin Klein presents Nerd.
Yeah, there you go. I you know what? I don't think we can top that.
No, I think that's a perfect ending. Yes, in the future we'll be looking at, the old comics, and the comics we loved. Next time we're going to be exploring the Dick Tracy comic
Yeah.
strip.
Yeah, no, we're not just doing comic books. We're doing comic strips, too.
Yeah. Because, classic comic strips were unbelievable.
It's where it came from.
Yeah, talk about like long-term stories and the evolution of characters and one of my loves.
Villains.
Yeah,
And
the villains.
Villains.
Yeah, one of my loves has always been Dick Tracy. I got into it just a few years before the movie came out, actually, because they were reprinting them at the time. And I've, over the years, I've been going back and reading them, and it's just I finally want to talk about it and go through them and the characters.
I was a little younger and finding bound editions in libraries in the late 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always been one that's been tough to find because it was never super popular as a comic book in the reprints. I mean, of course, it was super popular as a newspaper strip, but to find them in comic book form was very difficult, at least for me growing up. And it's something that, it's a popular character. It's it's a mainstream name that a lot of people know, but it hasn't been talked about a lot, I don't think.
And anyone who thinks that this stuff was like softcore back in the 30s and early 40s, Dick Tracy was fucking brutal.
Yes. Yeah.
Just brutal.
Yeah.
Just murder and mayhem with a smile.
Yeah, that's maybe the most appealing part of it was the mayhem. It was just total mayhem.
It's a brutal shit in those Dick Tracy. Oh, they're so good.
Yeah. So next time on Imaginary Stories, we will be looking at classic Dick Tracy comics. So join us then. Thank you, Johnny, for this first show. It's been great.
Oh, thank you. This has been a blast.
Yes, and check us out. We'll be back in about a month's time. Peace, everybody.
Here come the Teen Titans, a quartet of towering talents. Kid Flash, whose speed defies the eye to follow. Wonder Girl, swift and powerful super lass. Speedy, whose fantastic arrows perform awesome feats. Aqualad, bold and daring marine marvel. Fabulous foursome for right against might, the Teen Titans.